B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach, Shiur Torah. Baruch Hashem, we are back in Aventura here in Florida for our Best-of Center, continuing our series. Baruch Hashem, the Mishnah that we're up to, 6.6, this is now lecture 15 on the same Mishnah. Lecture number 15. So it seems like this Mishnah will need at least one CD of its own, Bezat Hashem, one day. Today we have another couple of things that we're going to learn in regards to the 48 Kinyanei Torah, 48 things that a person needs to acquire in order to acquire Torah Be'emet. Not, where you have today, lots of people are studying Torah, but not necessarily, not everybody, or even the majority, or even a significant amount actually get to acquire the crown of Torah. And part of the reason is that most people learn Torah in a certain way where they're learning it superficially. They're learning it to acquire certain knowledge, but that knowledge doesn't necessarily always lead to action. It doesn't necessarily only lead to action. So today's shiur will be for a Ilui Nishmat David ben Mas'uda, also for Refuah Shlema for David ben Nasriya, Doris bat Jora, Levana bat Sarah, Elisheva Chaya bat Sarah, Viola bat Jora, Elad ben Doris, Dvorah bat Mercedes, and all of Am Yisrael Bezat Hashem will have Refuah Shlema, Refuat Nefesh, Refuat Guf. Also, for people always ask in regards to sponsoring shiurim or putting names on the Refuah Shlema list. Anyone that wants to put a name or sponsor a shiur on our website on bezathashem.org, you can go on the website, and if you go to the store, there is a option on the bottom of the store to acquire a sponsorship of a shiur, where you can get add a name to the list. Now you could do it one of two ways. You could do it for free if you actually attend the shiur. If you attend the shiur, you just want to give me a name, I'll say the name. But if you want to really acquire the mitzvah, and become a partner in the shiur, become a partner in the Zikui Arabim, where it'll actually count in shamayim that you helped this shiur come to life, then you could, you could sponsor it. There's a couple of options. One option is for $180. Another option is for $500 for people to sponsor shiurim. And this money is what we use for Zikui Arabim. This is what we use to pay the employees, to CDs, to come here for free, and all the other places, Baruch Hashem. So anyone that wants to sponsor a shiur, be partners in a shiur, 1 time, 5 times, 1,000 times, every time, never time, whatever you want, it's available, Baruch Hashem. We have a nice website with a lot of different options, so for whoever actually wants to do something about it. That's actually one of the questions that Rabbi Ephraim and I, we were going back and forth today on Facebook Live today. We did about an hour shiur together in Hebrew. We tried this new technology that Hashem created for us, Baruch Hashem, and to have a joint shiur. Everything in the world, Hashem created it for the sake of serving Him. That's what He created. Created you to serve Him, created the goyim to serve Him, created the chair to serve Him. Everything in the world is for Hashem. So you just have to look at it and think about it. How can I use this creation to serve Hashem? How can I use it? So people will say, well, the internet caused a lot of people to sin. It's terrible. It's horrible. There's tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, of websites that are abomination, Shem Menachem. Yes, you're right. It has a lot of terrible things. But Zeh Keneged Zeh Bara Elokim, Hashem also created the internet and technology in order for you to serve Him. Why? Because you see today, the people that are doing tshuva, the people that are getting closer and closer to Hashem, the overwhelming majority of them are doing it because of something they saw on the internet. They saw a shiur of ours, Rav Mizrahi's, or some other rabbi that says the emet, and they saw something that motivated them to do tshuva. And they saw it on the internet, and you know, sometimes they were looking for it, sometimes they weren't looking for it. But the point is that Hashem made this tool available to us in order for you to get closer to Him. You could still choose otherwise. So everything that we see, we always try to figure out how can we use this tool in order to serve Hashem. And it's funny because with what happened today, it's mamash ashgacha pratit. Why is it ashgacha pratit? Maybe about 2.5 years ago, when I was in Yerushalayim, Rabbi Ephraim and I did a 5 or 6 shiurim together, talking about Zikuei Rabim, talking about KIRUV, talking about different things in the Torah, different questions, answers, and so on. And Baruch Hashem, it was very well received. And the bad part is that you know, we couldn't do any more together because I live in America and he lives in Gan Eden in Yerushalayim. So we always thought, oh, maybe we're going to use this different types of technology to have this split screen, because I saw other people do it. I just never knew how to do it. And anytime I looked into it, it either seemed too expensive or too complicated. It was either too expensive or too complicated. So we never actually got it. We never did anything about it. And recently I heard there's some other technology that somebody developed that's cost it's cost a few dollars, but it's not an arm and a leg like it used to be. And maybe we're going to look into it to start doing shulim together. We could see both of us on the screen. But still, as the day is so busy, that when do you have time to look into this stuff? It's very hard to deal with everything already. So to add another thing to the project, you have a to-do list. And to-do list just continues, like the exile continues. The to-do list continues like the exile. And you try once in a while to scratch one off for every one you scratch off the to-do list, another 17 were added. But you try your best. Anyway, I was planning on getting to it to try to figure out something that's going to have this joint screen so we could do shurim together, especially, you know, because it's in Hebrew. I don't really have much of a Hebrew crowd here in America. So almost all of my shurim online are English. Maybe I have 40, 50 shurim in Hebrew, which relative to the English is not very much. So, but if I do something with a Ephraim, it was good. But again, how do you do the split screen? So we have shurim online all the time, but it's without the visual. So anyway, today he sends me a message. He goes, "Oh, listen, I think Facebook developed this new technology that you can do the split screen if you press the certain button." I said, Rabbi Ephraim is not exactly technology savvy. It's not his expertise. He doesn't spend any time in technology. He spends time in learning Torah. But he found a chidush. What? Facebook developed technology I never even heard of. So we said, oh, you know what, let's try it. We tried Ishtabach Shimolah. It worked like a charm. And we had our first shiur today in Hebrew. It has a few kinks, a few bugs in there that we had to figure out. It didn't work, but in the end, Baruch Hashem, it worked out. And we had a nice shiur. So we'll try to continue doing more of them. But you see, this again, it's a ashgacha pratit. Why? We wanted to do something already a couple of years ago. It wasn't possible. We prayed about it, we talked about it, we prayed about it, we talked about it, but it took 2 years for the prayer to get accepted. 2 years for the prayer to get accepted, and today it was available for free. You understand? So it's sometimes you pray for something, you say, oh, how come Hashem is not listening to me? He's listening to you. He's listening to you. He's listening to what you're saying. Yeah, he sees your tears. He sees you want to do good. He sees you want to do a mitzvah. He says, it's not time yet. It's not time yet, my son. It's not time yet. I know you want to do it now. I know you think it's right now. It's not. I know the future. I know different things. It's not. That's what he's saying to you. But he's not telling you don't pray. It's a mistake for anyone to think that if a prayer doesn't get answered right away, then to stop praying. That's a very big mistake. Why? We learned from Parashat Vayetchanan, Moshe Rabbeinu prayed 515 times to be let into Eretz Yisrael. What do you think? He really wanted to go see Eretz Yisrael? He wanted to go see Tel Aviv, Haifa? What do you want to see? He wanted to do more mitzvot. So he prayed 515 times in order to be given the merit to do more mitzvot. Hashem says, Rav Lach, enough. You have enough mitzvot. You have enough. You don't need to go in there. You don't have to go in there. But why 515? Because Hashem told him to stop after 515, because if he would have prayed 516 times, Hashem would have had to change the rules and would have had to let him into Eretz Yisrael, which would have led to a disaster. Not a good thing. It looked good. It looked like it would be good for Moshe Rabbeinu to go into Eretz Yisrael. In the eyes of Moshe it looked good. In the eyes of the people it looked good. In our eyes it looked good. But Hashem that knows the future, She'en od milvado, there's nothing else like him, there's nothing else besides him. He says, no, it's no good. So, stop. Stop praying. So how come he let him pray 515 times? If he didn't want him to go, just tell him to stop after once. If he didn't want him to go, just tell him to stop. He said, Hashem, let me in. No. Finished. Why let him pray after 515 times? We see from here is that just because Hashem doesn't answer you right away doesn't mean that He doesn't want you to pray. But just because you pray a lot doesn't mean that Hashem is going to say yes either. Sometimes Hashem wants you to pray more in order for Him to eventually say yes. Why? Because every prayer gets acquired and acquired and acquired in shamayim. And little by little, those prayers eventually have enough power to break that wall that's getting in the way between what you want and actually what Hashem is going to allow you to have. So you need to, not everything has one prayer price. Everything has a different price. Sometimes it's one prayer. Sometimes it's 10 prayers. Sometimes it's 516 prayers. You never know. So here we learn that Hashem is never going to get in the way of your free choice. He's going to let you pray. But it doesn't mean that if you pray forever, you're going to get a yes every time. You're not going to get a yes every time. So he let Moshe Rabbeinu pray, because he has free choice to pray as much as he wants. And he wants to do good, no problem, pray. And we should learn that if we want something and that something is good, you start praying and don't finish. Continue praying for it every day, all the time. All the time. Don't worry about yes or no. Worry about doing what you're supposed to. Worry about buying into, your prayer is your spiritual money. Keep praying for it, praying for it, praying for it until you get some type of an answer. Even if the answer is no, you still got an answer. But how do you know if it's a yes or no? Part of the prayer should be clarity. Clarity of what to do. Clarity is actually even more important than yes or no. Because sometimes you get an answer from heaven, but it's confusing. So you're not really sure if it's a yes, you're not really sure if it's a no. So if you don't know, you continue praying. Until you have clarity for sure, this is it. They call it in the secular world closure. You want closure on this thing. You want to know for sure this is it. This is it. So here we learn that if you have something that you really desire, even if it's something that's a mitzvah, even if it's something that's good, you want to get married, you want to find a shidduch, you want to have kids, you want to fulfill mitzvot, you want to, your mind to be opened up so you could actually start understanding what you're learning and so on and so forth. You pray for it until you get a clear answer. Clear answer. Never give up. But the point is that when we prayed. We didn't know when we were going to get answered. We didn't know if we're going to get answered. We just knew that this is it. This is what we have to do. And Baruch Hashem, when you least expect it, Hashem responds, and He responds in a way that you couldn't imagine. The way we imagine is that, okay, we're going to end up buying the software from somebody, figure it out, probably, have an engineer or something teach us how to do it, and then eventually use it. Little do we know is that Hashem had this plan already very differently than ours, and Baruch Hashem, His plan was much better. So, as we talked about last night, Rabbeinu Bechaye says that anyone that does not believe in Hashgacha Pratit, in Hashem's personalized monitoring and involvement in our day-to-day life, to the extent of every single minute action, not just the big things like people think. Everything, the small things. Whether you're going to make a sound when you swallow your own saliva, Hashem decides if there's going to be a sound. Sometimes, you're waiting in turn or something, or you have an appointment, but it's really quiet and you don't want to make any noise. And you're just sitting there, and you just, you don't want to be the one guy that makes noise. Everybody's quiet, it's quiet, it's quiet, it's quiet, and all of a sudden your stomach is, Whoa. Everybody's looking at you. Sir! No, it's not me. It's my stomach. I didn't do it. You know who decided that? Hashem. Hashem decided for your stomach to make a noise. To that extent, Rabotai. To that extent, Hashem decides everything. And someone who doesn't believe in that, someone that thinks that Hashem is too big, too powerful, and Chas v'Shalom too busy to decide what your stomach is going to do, has a belief system that's more dangerous than idolatry itself. It's very, very dangerous not to believe in Hashgacha Pratit. And unfortunately today, very few people believe in Hashgacha Pratit. Even in the religious world, the statistic we read last night showed that in the modern Orthodox world today, only 51% say they believe in Hashgacha Pratit. If intermarriage was a disaster, this is a travesty. If all of the confusion that we have in the world today was something that is leading to a lot of problems, we see that the problem is starting with the root. The Chachamim say that one time there was a guy that bought a plant, bought a little tree, small tree to plant it. And on his way, some guy that's an expert in agriculture, a PhD in agriculture, looks at him, looks at the tree very interestingly, says to him, "You shouldn't plant this apple tree." Now this guy just spent money on this apple tree. It's a little, it has no apples. But first of all, he's surprised. How did this guy know it's an apple tree? There's no apples on it. There's not like a sign on it, apple. There's no apple sign. There's no ayo yatzet. There's no text messaging yet. It's hundreds of years ago. How do you know it's an apple tree? He's surprised. Wow. This guy knows what he's talking about. He knows it's an apple tree. But even better yet, what's it to you? Why shouldn't I plant this apple tree? Why not? So he responds to him very quickly. He says, "Hey, what do you have something against my apple tree? Why shouldn't I plant it?" He says, "Because you see the root over here. You see the root of this apple tree? Yeah, I see this strings over here. He says, yeah, that's the root. See that black dot over there in the root?" He says, "Yes, that black dot means that the fruits that will come out of this apple tree will be bitter, disgusting. So better yet, don't plant it at all." He says, "What do you mean? Look at this big tree. Look at this powerful tree. Look at the potential of the tree. You're telling me one small little dot is going to ruin the whole thing?" So the agriculturalist tells them, if that black dot was anywhere else, then you're right. Then you're right. There's too many other things involved. You can get rid of it. You can cut it. You can do a surgery. You can break it. But once it's in a root, finished. Once the black dot, the cancer got to the root, finished. The whole tree is ruined. Chachamim say this is what Am Yisrael needs to know. Sometimes you're going to see a kid go off the derech. But he's going to say, the kid's going to say, "How come you went off the derech?" He say, I went off the derech because, stuff didn't make sense to me. What do you mean it didn't make sense to you? What, having a God run the world doesn't make sense to you? No, the God thing I believe, but I don't know, science and this and Christianity and Buddhism and Islam, how do I know if this is right? I don't know if that is right. And then the rabbis, there's problems with this, and the kid tells you pretty much a whole list, a shopping list, of all the problems that are happening in the world, specifically with Am Yisrael. He's an expert and knows. You ask him for a nice chidush about Parashat Shavua, he doesn't know what you're talking about. You ask him how many sons did Moshe Rabbeinu has, he forgot. You ask him how many sons did Yaakov Avinu has, he says he had sons. he doesn't know much. But the problems, he's an expert, and he decided that because of the problems, he's going off the derech. What, do you really think the kid went off the derech because of what he said? Chachamim say no. Chachamim said the kid didn't go off the derech because of what he said. He went off the derech because there's something wrong with the root. There's something wrong with his parents. There's something wrong with his parents. What happened with his parents? Maybe, a hypothetical scenario, maybe the parents were one of these people that didn't have any emunat chachamim or kvod chachamim. So when the rabbi said something, it's like, rabbi is exaggerating. And the little Yankale, at 6 years old, saw Abba David and Ima, he saw them anytime the rabbi said something they didn't like, he's like, the rabbi is exaggerating. So what did little Yankale say? Little Yankale at 6 years old, he's like, the rabbi is not such a... We don't have to listen to the rabbi. So what happened? When he went to school, he went to Leo Yeshiva, $500, $1,000 a month, everybody thought he was getting an education. He wasn't getting an education. Why? Because he was doing what his parents said, the education he already got at shul. When he sat next to Abba and Ima over there. He got the education over there, so when he went to school, he didn't want to listen to the teacher. Why? Say, the rabbi is exaggerating with this mitzvah. He heard the rabbi say, you have to kriyat shema before you go to sleep. Rabbi is exaggerating. Every night I have to do kriyat shema. Hashem doesn't have enough people doing kriyat shema. So he didn't want to do kriyat shema. He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to do that. Little by little Yankale that becomes Yaakov and then becomes Jacob. Because he's Americanized. Little Yankale now as a teenager has zero interest in the Torah. Why? There was a problem with the root. There was a problem with the root where his parents did not have emunat chachamim, didn't have kvod chachamim, didn't have kvod for the Torah. Little Yankale learned that, and that was just enough to destroy the kid. Now go undo that. Go fix that. It's not so easy to fix it. It's not so easy to fix it without a little bit of siyata dishmaya from Hashem that's going to turn Yankale's life upside down in order for him to desire for it to change. And the same thing goes with all of us. All of us have to understand that in a time like now, time of the Mashiach, time where there are many people falling left and right, you have to be strong. And if it's not for your sake, it's for your kid's sake. If a mom is not going to be modest, you should know. Even, I'm not talking about not modest like she's not dressed like the rest of the world. I'm talking about that she's wearing a kosher dress and she's not putting 10 pounds of makeup. But she decides she doesn't want to cover her hair. Or better yet, she covers her hair but with a wig that no one really knows, especially kids. No one knows it's a wig. It looks like regular hair. So you should know, you did this, your kid's going to get worse. Why? It's the way it is. Every generation will do worse. You think that the wig is fine? You think that this is going to be fine? Your daughter's going to wear a longer wig and a shorter dress. And this is what we're seeing in this generation. Many longer wigs and shorter dresses. To such an extent that it's almost rare. It's like finding Bigfoot. It's rare to find a modest woman in the religious communities today. It's like finding Bigfoot in the religious community is just as likely as finding a modest woman. Why? There's a problem with the root. There's a problem with the root. And this is, Rabotai, what we all have to know. You have to be strong. You have to stand up for something. If you don't stand up for something, you'll fall for everything. And if we don't acknowledge that each one of these little leniencies that you give yourself with no permission, there's leniencies that are allowed and even recommended, but there are certain leniencies that no one ever told you should do, and you yourself know it's not allowed. Betoch tocha, inside you know it's not allowed. You start making these leniencies, you should know those leniencies are going to lead to other things. Oh, what's the big deal? The big deal is, no, you're fine. Your kid's not going to be fine. Your grandkid's not going to be fine. That's the problem. And this is not, chas v'shalom, a bad wish on anybody. It's just the results of what we're dealing with today from the previous generation. A couple of generations ago, Most of us had grandparents that were tzaddikim. Most of us had grandparents that were rabbis, talmidei chachamim, and even the ignorant among us, even the ignorant ones, still kept Torah and mitzvot. Still did not go against Hashem like mamash. For the most part. But then, because it was for the most part, because there was enough rotten fruits from Yevsektia and communism, and the reform was born, and so on, there was enough coming from there that little by little, their kids, the Yevsektia's kids, the reform's kids, the intermarried kids, all of that, they started coming into the religious community. They started coming into the religious community. They started befriending them. What? He's a nice guy. Why can't we hang out with him? Because he's a Mechalel Shabbat. So you shouldn't have your kids hang out with Mechalel Shabbat. Why? He's a nice kid. Yes, he's a nice kid, but he's a Mechalel Shabbat. There's nothing wrong with the kid. We have nothing against the kid. We have nothing against the kid. It's just that if he's a Mechalel Shabbat and he becomes BFFs with your son, then it's only a matter of time before your son's going to be a Mechalel Shabbat. People ask me all the time, how do I decide if I could send my kid to a certain school or kindergarten? I say, look at the teachers. So how do I know if they're good teachers or not? The website says they're good teachers. Every website says teachers, everyone has degrees, from here to Gan Eden. So how do I know who's a good teacher, bad teacher? It says you don't need to know that. You need to know how they look. If they're modest, it's a good school. If they're not modest, impossible for it to be a good school. Why? Because the kid's going to learn not just the information. He's going to learn what they see. If the teacher is wearing a long wig and a short skirt, guess what? Your daughter's going to be long wig, short skirt, if that much, bichlal. We have nothing against the teacher per se. But we don't want to put our kids in a situation where they're going to learn things that we don't want them to do. If there's something wrong with the root, the fruits that will eventually come out will be bitter. And bitter is not such a thing that people aspire to have. So now, if a person takes these matters into consideration, he says, okay, so what do I do? When I start investigating everything like one of these Israeli spies, I'm going to start looking at everything with one of these glasses over here, and just to make sure. Yes, number one, you should actually be very careful. But even more so, you should start working on yourself. A lot of parents are making a very big mistake in their chinuch. Very big mistake in their chinuch. What mistake are they making? They're telling their kids to do a bunch of stuff that they themselves don't do. They tell their kid, do Kriyat Shema, but they don't do Kriyat Shema. Read from the book, but they don't read from the book. Did you say Asher Yatzar? But they didn't say Asher Yatzar. You say Birkat HaMazon? They didn't say Birkat HaMazon. Say thank you. You didn't say thank you. You tell a kid to do a bunch of stuff like he's a pet. You do it. If you do it, kid's going to want to do it. You're not going to have to tell him. If you do Birkat HaMazon, the kid wants to do Birkat HaMazon. You do Kriyat Shema, the kid wants to do Kriyat Shema. You know how amazing it is for your kid to say, Baruch Hashem. He's 2 years old. Baruch Hashem. Where'd you learn this from? You. I heard you say Baruch Hashem. The kid says Baruch Hashem. Not everything has to be manual. You have to teach him, say Baruch, say Hashem. Yes, you can do that. But in reality, the kid is going to do what he sees and what he hears from his parents. So instead of focusing so much on telling him what to do it yourself. You want your kids to be grateful? You be grateful. You want your kids to be happy? You be happy. You want your kids to value Torah, respect the rabbi? You value Torah. You respect the rabbi. You want your kids to honor Hashem? You honor Hashem. A woman asked me today, how come some people, when they write the name of Hashem, they don't write some of the letters? When they do it in English. So for example, they write the word God with G and then a dash and then D. Or when they write the word Hashem, they write H and then they miss one of the letters. Usually it's the A, and then there's like a dash instead of the A, and then Hashem. This is for the sake of honoring Hashem, but sometimes these things are not really necessary, because in the word of Hashem, there's no need to not write one of the letters. Why? Because the word Hashem doesn't mean God. It means the name. The word itself is already showing honor for the name of Hashem. So the word Hashem means the name, meaning that the name of Hashem is so holy, we don't actually say it. And therefore we can say Hashem as many times as we want, anywhere we want. Even if you're not allowed to learn Torah in a place that has a bad smell. You're not allowed to learn Torah. But you're allowed to say Hashem. Why? Because it doesn't mean God. It means the name. So if somebody asks you, how are you doing, but you work in some factory that smells terrible, you can say Baruch Hashem. There's no problem with that. Say Be'ezat Hashem. There's no problem with that. So sometimes people are show Hashem the right kavod, but sometimes it's a little bit taken too far. Not that Chas v'Shalom we could ever show Hashem too much respect, is that they don't really know what they're doing. They don't know where and what, they don't know what it actually means. So the word Hashem doesn't mean God, it means the name, which is referring to God, which is by itself showing honor for God and for His name, and therefore you can use the entire word and not change the spelling of it. The word God, even so, it's also it's not the actual holy name itself. Number one, it's in English. And number two, again, it's not the actual name. It's a representation of it. But interestingly enough, it also has the numerical value of the name God in Hebrew. The word God in English has the same numerical value as the name of Hashem in Hebrew. You also do not need to take the O and remove it. You could spell out the entire word God. But you do need to be careful to use it appropriately, meaning don't just throw the word anywhere. Don't just say the word anywhere. If you're saying it for the sake of a prayer, if you're saying it for the sake of teaching, then there's no problem with using the word. There's no problem with using it. But if you're saying it just as a figure of speech, because some people just say things they got themselves used to saying these different sayings, then it's a mistake. So, of course, we shouldn't take Hashem's name in vain, but at the same token, we should know when and how to use Hashem's name. Point being is that a person that asks such a question of when to use this and when to use that, this is obviously a person that is trying to do tshuva. This is obviously a person that is doing more than the average person in order to show Hashem's honor. This is fantastic news. This is a great question. Why is it a great question? Because it's showing that this person is trying to fix themselves. If the person is trying to fix themselves, that means they're trying to fix the root. And if they're fixing the root, guess what? The kids are going to see it eventually. That gives me confidence. The kids, they're going to be okay. Why? Because the parent is fixing the root. The parent is fixing the parent is realizing, I got to give Hashem more honor. I got to make sure I even know how to use His name. That's a good question. It's even better than a Lahaik question sometimes. Why? Because sometimes people ask you what to do, but they don't do it anyway. They just want to know. They just like to ask questions. They just like to ask questions. Can you tell me, Rabbeinu Tam, the tefillin, do I have to have it? Can you tell me, when do you put it on? Do you put it at the same time? Because some people put both tefillin at the same time. Or you do it separately. And you give them the answers. And then you realize 6 months later they don't do anything. Why'd you ask? No, I was just interested. I just saw people in the shul, they had 2 tefillin on, and some people had 1 tefillin on. I just wanted to know why. Oh, so you're just asking for no reason. You have nothing to do, and you think I like you, I have nothing to do. So both of us have nothing to do, so we're just going to ask questions. Maybe I start calling you and start asking you questions about nothing also. Why don't I do that? What's your profession? Oh, you're a pharmacist? Oh, you're a doctor? I'm going to start asking you medical questions. If a person has a pain on the right side, what does it mean? I don't know. He has to come in. But what if he has a pain on the right side and his left foot hurts too? I don't know. He has to come in. What if right side, left foot, and the right fingernail fell off? What happens? Can you leave me alone with these crazy questions? You have that? No, I just want to know. Why? You ask me questions for no reason, so can I ask you questions for no reason? Because no, my time costs money. My time costs money too. Why are you asking questions for no reason? This is also one of the things we're going to learn today, is you're not allowed to ask questions for no reason. It's actually one of the prerogatives of the 48 prerogatives that a person needs to have in order to inherit, in order to acquire the Keter Torah. So the Mishnah says, גדולה תורה יותר מן הכהונה ומן המלכות, שהמלכות נקנה ב30 מעלות, והכהונה נקנה ב24, והתורה נקנית ב48 דברים, ואלו הן. בתלמוד, בשמיעת האוזן, בעריכת שפתיים, בבינת הלב, בסכלות הלב, באימה, ביראה, בענווה, בשמחה, בטהרה, בשימוש חכמים, בדקדוק חברים, בפלפול התלמידים, ביישוב, במקרא, במשנה, במיעוט סחורה, במיעוט דרך ארץ, במיעוט תענוג, במיעוט שינה, במיעוט שיחה, במיעוט צחוק, בערך אפיים, בלב טוב, באמונת חכמים, בקבלת האיסורים, והמכיר את מקומו והשמח בחלקו, והעושה סייג לדבריו ואינו מחזיק טובה לעצמו, אהוב, אוהב את המקום, אוהב את הבריות, אוהב את הצדקות, אוהב את המשרים, אוהב את התוכחות, ומתרחק מן הכבוד ולא מגיס ליבו בתלמודו, ואינו שמח בהוראה, נושא בעול עם חברו, ומכריעו לכף זכות, ומעמידו על האמת, ומעמידו על השלום, ומתיישב ליבו בתלמודו, שואל ומשיב, שומע ומוסיף, הלומד על מנת ללמד, והלומד על מנת לעשות. Up to here is what we're going to, Be'ezrat Hashem, try to do, cover tonight. And this is what it says, translation. The Torah is even greater than priesthood or royalty, for royalty is acquired along with 30 prerogatives. The priesthood with 24 gifts. But the Torah is acquired by means of 48 qualities. Right off the bat, this Mishnah teaches us that Torah is not something that you can inherit because of who you are, but rather it's something that every single person in the world can acquire if they choose to, toil to no end. To be a Jew doesn't is not something that just happens because you were born into the family. You can become a Jew even if you weren't born into the family by converting. You can be treated like a goy even if your parents were rabbis. Why? If you don't follow the law, you don't follow the instructions set from Hashem, then you're going to be violating the law. And if you violate the law on a regular basis and you decide you're not going to keep it, then dino kegoy. The halakha will treat you like you're an idol worshiper. You're someone that's not a righteous Jew like your grandparents. The Torah is acquired by 48 qualities, which are study, attentive listening, articulate speech, intuitive understanding, discernment, all different things that have to do with a person's studying, a person taking this Torah Kedosha and treating it like it's divine. What does it mean, treating it like it's divine? If somebody gave you a book, he said to you, you see this book? This book has the answers to the test. You know, we have a test. This book has the answers to the test. You want to get 100 on the test, you get an A in this class, you want to get the best grade in this class, best grade in the university, so you can get a better job, and so on and so forth. This book has it. Go give it to me. Oh, hold on a second. It has a price. It has a price. How much? You give him the price. Okay, deal. Why? Because I want to get an A. I want to be the best kid in class. I want to get a good job, and so on and so forth. You know what? It leads to other things. Now, after you buy this book, what are you going to do? You're going to throw it in the air, show it to everybody? No, if you're smart, you're not. What are you going to do? You're going to keep it close to your chest. You're going to keep it with you at all times. Just like the king of Am Yisrael is supposed to. Halakha says, king of Am Yisrael has to have a Sefer Torah with him at all times. Why? So he can learn about Yirat Shamayim. Yeah, but he's Gdol Adol. Doesn't he already know it now? If he's the biggest, the king is also the biggest rabbi in the world. So the biggest rabbi in the world, Hashem picked him. Obviously he has Yirat Shamayim for Hashem to pick him. Yes, he had it when I picked him. He has to keep it. And the only way he's going to keep this yirat shamayim is if he treats this Torah as if it's divine. He treats this Torah as if it's brand new every day. The information he's getting, even if he read it before, he's treating like it's brand new. He's looking for it. He's looking for some new insight. He's looking for some new ashgacha pratit in his limud. A person that knows that the answers in a certain book is going to treat it carefully. He's going to treat it like it's something special. Because he knows that the answers are in this book are very valuable. And that's for a book that's only going to help a person get better grades in the class. What about better grades in a lifetime? Better grades in a lifetime. What about that? Most people are worried about class. They're worrying about their job. They're worrying about something that's temporary. They treat this life as if this life is permanent. Because they simply don't think things through. When people ask, why did we come to this world? Why did we come to this world? I heard a beautiful answer from a chacham once. And it's something that unless you hear it from a chacham, you're not going to hear it from anywhere else. Because this is not the thought of modern society. He says, look at it this way. When all of us were in the womb of our parents, of our mom, we were convinced this is it. This is the promised land. You sit there, you swim a little bit, get a nice little drink, get a nice little bite out of something. You're having a good time. What are you stressed out about? Oh, she moved. No, stop, Ima. Bah! Nice kick. Stop moving. That's your biggest worry in life. What do you have? You got your food, you're hanging out, you're growing every day. You're saying, oh, hopefully she continues to grow too because I need some more space. What's your worry in life? You're convinced this is it. This is the promised land. But Hashem says, I only put you here to prepare you for there. I put you here in the stomach to prepare you for there. If I immediately put you out there, you wouldn't survive a second. So I put you here for a certain amount of time, for 9 months, in order to prepare you for there. One day, kid kicks a little bit too hard. He got strong. She got strong. Pah! Water breaks. Oh, what's going on? Water's coming out. It's my food. My food's out of here. I'm out of here. I can't stay here anymore. He comes out. She comes out. Why are they crying? Because they didn't want to leave. They didn't know there's something else. But all of a sudden, everybody sees, everybody's happy. Oh, we've been waiting for you. Who are you people? Who are you? What do you want from me? Oh, we've been waiting for you. He's so cute. He's so cute. He's so cute. And little by little, the kid realizes, wow, the whole time I was in there, I was being prepared to come here. And my stuff is still back there. My stuff is still back there. I had to leave it back there. Can't bring it with me. I left it all back there. Can't bring the uterus with me. Can't bring the water with me. Can't bring my stuff. It's there. But it looks like this place has a bunch of stuff too. Has a bunch of stuff too. He starts grabbing everything. I pick up my kid. It's the funniest thing in the world. Anytime I pick him up, it's like he tries to grab everything. It's like you have to you can't just look at him. You can't look at him. You have to look at his hands. Shoo, shoo. He's trying to grab everything in sight. So the kid says, oh, you know what? I left my stuff over there. I didn't even know there's over here. But I'm here now. Okay, let me get some more stuff. So why are you in this world? Why are you in this world? You're in this world for Hashem to prepare you to get over there. To go to the next place. Where's the next place? The permanent one. The one that's called Olam Haba. And when a person leaves this world, he also leaves stuff. He leaves his body, he leaves his money, he leaves his house, he leaves everything here. Now while he's here, he's like the baby. He's sure this is it. So he starts planning and doing as if this is permanent. he invests a lot of time into his house, and he paints the walls, and he fixes the chairs, and he does an extension, and another extension, and he makes sure the car is washed, and he makes sure the rims look this way, and he sees his reflection on it, and he makes sure that this and that, and all, little as you know, this, temporary. And when you leave, you can't take that stuff with you. You can't take that stuff with you. When he had his time in his mom's belly, Hashem gave him body and a soul. And those two had to become combined. The soul had already a track record from a previous life. The body was brand new. The body is needed in order to fix the soul. But it could only happen if the two exit this first stage. They combine and they exit. They come to this world. Now they're here. We have the body. We have the soul. But the goal is now for the body to fix the soul. The goal is for the body to fix the soul, to purify the body in order to fix the soul, to make sure you watch your eyes so the soul doesn't get hurt, to make sure you watch your bleed so the soul doesn't get hurt, to make sure you don't let stupid things into your mind so the soul doesn't get hurt. Why? Because eventually the only thing that you're going to leave this world with is the soul. Body stays here. This is just temporary khalifa, just a suit you wear for a lifetime. That's it. If a person starts thinking about things that way, then he realizes, wait, so I only came into this world in order to get to this stage, in order to get to the next stage. Which means that if I'm smart, my number one concern should be what? To do everything I possibly can to arrive at the next stage in the best shape possible. What's available? What's good? What's valuable in the next stage? The soul. What can I do that's good for the soul? Buying a house not going to do good for the soul. Buying 3 cars not good for the soul. Why? What's good for the soul? What's good for the soul? Mitzvot's good for the soul. Connecting to Hashem is good for the soul. Fixing our character traits good for the soul. So all these different things, that's good for the soul. That's what I can take with me. That's what I can take with me. Now, money is going to help me do certain things, buy certain things, do certain things, have certain conveniences, no problem. But I'm not going to invest an overwhelming majority of my time concentrating on something that's temporary for this body that I'm leaving behind. And a person could easily change their life in a second just by understanding this equation. Body and soul came together in order for them to come here, in order for the soul to become purified as a result of the body's actions. But if we only concentrate on the body, then what's going to end up happening? The soul is going to be ignored in a lifetime, arrive naked in the next world with no mitzvot, with no schal, with no nothing, and the body dies. And it ends up becoming a complete waste of life. So a person that understands these things, takes things into account, when he learns this, he says, you know what, this is something, maybe I have to hear it a few times. Maybe I have to hear it once a week. Maybe I have to hear it once a month. To remind myself, because the Yetzirah constantly convinces me that the body's here to stay. The body's here to stay. Maybe they're going to have medicine, some new drug that's going to allow you to live forever. Maybe they're going to, give me some stem cells and I'm going to feel young. And all types of nonsense that people have in their mind that they're convinced that somehow they're going to live longer than they do. That's why people that are, even if they're 90 years old, they still do things that are relevant only to this world. They still go to work. They still try to make business deals. I remember there was a guy named Kirk Kerkorian, multi-billionaire. At 98 years old or 94 years old, he was still doing business deals that only 20-year-olds should be doing. Why? Because there were 20-year deals, 30-year deals. Meaning that even if it worked out, you wouldn't know for another 20 years. Meaning that at 90-something years old, almost 100 years old, he was convinced he's going to see the fruit of this labor. He's not doing it for anybody. He's doing it for himself. So, Attentive listening, articulate speech, intuitive understanding, and discernment are all different steps of studying. You study from books, you study from listening, you study from even from when you speak. One of the greatest benefits of being a public speaker, or even in general, just teaching your own family, teaching your friends, going over something, is the fact that you actually learn while you speak. Because when you learn on your own, you learn a certain aspect of it. When you start teaching it to other people, you see also how they react to it. You see people make faces. They understand what you said. They don't understand what you said. They smile. They laugh. They look confused. Like, you start reading people's faces. If they're confused, what does it mean? Doesn't mean that they're fools. It means that you didn't explain it good enough. It means that you did not do your job. So you have to explain it again. So sometimes you'll hear me say the same thing 3 times. It's not because I think you're deaf. It's because I saw one of your faces and led me to believe that you didn't understand what I just said. One of the worst things I ever heard from one of my students is that he told me that he was listening to my shiurim for almost a year before he understood anything. And I said to myself, why didn't you tell me sooner? Why did you tell me sooner? I would have explained to you in a different way. You're listening to something for a year, you don't understand anything? Nothing? So he said, no, it's exaggerating a little bit. It's not nothing, it's just I didn't understand as much. Like, oh, okay, so now, my heart can start to go back to work. Nothing you didn't understand for a year, you should tell me something. So sometimes I'll repeat something because I see somebody in the crowd, or even myself, I think about it, and I say, wait a minute. If I was on that opposite side, I don't know if I would understand it, so I say it again. So one of the benefits of actually speaking out loud is that you get to hear the shiur yourself. You get to learn it yourself, and you actually get to think about it all over again. Which is also the reason why it's very, very disturbing to see people do things that are, disturbing other people. Like, for example, when people talk in the middle of a lecture, or people play with their phone, or people, constantly going up, down. You see sometimes people come to the shiur. There was, I think, like 2-3 weeks ago. Some new person came to the shiur. He walked to the middle of the room, was coming up to me. I thought he was coming to assassinate me. He looked like an assassin. He comes to me, he's 9 feet tall. He's looking straight at me in an unusual way, and then he walks back. He's not standing, he's not sitting yet. He goes back, so I'm thinking, maybe he has bad vision, I don't know. And I'm talking to you guys. And then he comes back again. I don't know if you guys noticed this. He comes back again. He comes back. He looks at me for a good solid minute and a half, which is very weird, by the way. Somebody staring at you like this, like you're in a fishbowl. Like, I said, the flipper's here. Flipper's here. What do you want for my life? And the guy comes back and forth, maybe for a good 15 minutes. Good 15 minutes. The guy keeps going back and forth until he left. This is a person that thinks he's the only person in the world. This is a person that is convinced he's the only person in the world. Why? He doesn't realize there was a bunch of other people in the shiur. One of them could be disturbed, mostly me. Why? I'm looking at the guy, looking at me in a very unusual way. So one of the things that you get to be, you get to benefit from as someone that's speaking, as someone that's teaching, is that you get to think about your own learning all over again. And you get to see people's reactions. But ultimately, there are many people that speak, there are many people that teach, but not many people have yirat shamayim. Not many people teach the truth. There are many people that will tell you things that you want to hear. I spoke to a dear friend of mine. We were talking about the world today, and we said, yeah, there's a couple of really, really, really popular speakers in the Jewish world today. I'm not going to mention any names, but I could tell you that almost every time I get some type of advertisement about some type of Shabbaton or some type of event, at least one of their names is on it. It's almost like it cannot happen without one of their names. And the minimum they take is $5,000 per event. $5,000 per speech, meaning if it's a Shabbaton, it's more. So there's more than one speech. $5,000. So, but people, invite them as if it's free. So we're just saying to ourselves, like, it's Ribono Shel Olam. People are paying $5,000 for an hour speech with no real new insights for anybody that's actually learned. But let's say even if it does, for an hour you're paying $5,000, and people are ordering it like it's free. Like it's one of these movies you buy, you put $1 in a machine to get a movie, like in the old days, you put $1 in a machine to get a movie. They get this guy $5,000. Why? Like, I don't understand. Like, what's the thing? Another person is free and he doesn't get even 10%. How could it be? Look what he says, look what he says. The guy that gets paid $5,000 is telling everybody, look, you're all fine. You're all perfect. You're all tzaddikim. All you got to do is treat your wife good. All you got to do is treat your husband good. All you got to do is pay the tuition in the yeshiva. All you got to do is be a decent, honest person. And sing. Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. And that's it. And that's finished. We're good. Be motivated, be successful, donate, that's it. Meaning everybody comes in there feeling okay, and they leave there feeling even better. The other guy that's free, he tells you, hey, by the way, Rabotai, if you, or your son, or your daughter, or your uncle, or the person you love the most in your life is a mechalel Shabbat, Hashem's going to kill him. He's living right now on borrowed time. That doesn't make anybody feel good, including the speaker. So even though he's free, everybody feels, I just got horrible news. A son, a daughter, a friend, a spouse is living on borrowed time. According to Hashem, according to His Torah. So what? I don't want to hear this. I want to hear I'm good. Fine. I want to hear like yeah, but the other one is telling you you're healthy, but in reality you're sick. The other one is telling you you're sick because you're sick. So what, you want to live in a imaginary world? Yes. Most people want to live in an imaginary world. One of the ways that the religious community justifies living in an imaginary world is the fact that they learn a little bit. They have a chavruta, or they learn in a few shurim for the week. So this Mishnah here says, reverence, modesty, joy, purity. These are all different things that are character traits, which is to teach us if the Torah that you're learning is not changing you, it's not Torah. Lo shamayim. If the result of you learning in this shiur, if the result of you learning from the chavruta, if the result of you learning from this book, or this speech, or this YouTube video, or this movie, it didn't give you more yirat shamayim, it didn't give you more reverence of Hashem, it didn't give you more humility, it didn't give you more mamash, genuine happiness of the difficulties in your life, not genuine happiness of you got a brand new car. Genuine happiness is a difficulty. Say, Baruch Hashem, the check didn't clear. If it didn't give you that, if you did not change as a person, you did not become a better person, a more ethical person, a more better Eved Hashem, lo bashamayim. That's not Torah. The Torah is supposed to change you. If it's not changing you, I'm sorry, my friend. You can call it whatever you want. It's not Torah. You can use whoever's names you want. Doesn't mean much. I remember in the business world, one of the best indications of, for me personally, of who not to do business with is people that drop names. You know what that means? People that drop names in the business world, it's all about who you know. It's all about who you know, but people don't really know anybody, but they make pretend like they know somebody because they met him and they took a picture with them one time. Oh, yeah, you know Diddy? Yeah, I had dinner with him. What, you had dinner with him? You were in a restaurant, he was in a restaurant, he didn't even know who you were. What are you talking about? Yeah, you know, Buffett. What Buffett? You mean Warren Buffett? Buffett? Yeah, Buffett. It's my boy Buffett. What do you mean, your boy? You take his money? He goes, no, I went to his annual conference. Yeah, so does 30,000 other people. Yeah, but he took a picture with me. He says, yeah, he took a picture with everybody else there. He doesn't, like, if you call him right now, it's like, hey, it's Johnny. He doesn't know who Johnny is. He doesn't know you. But people throw names. Yeah, you know this guy, you know that guy, you know this guy, you know that guy. Those people, don't do business with them. Why? They're liars. They're liars. They drop names. They say names as if they something. People that actually know people, don't mention it. You'll get to know it eventually anyway. You'll get to know it eventually anyway. Name droppers. Sometimes you have people with a kippah drop names. They say Rabbi Akiva, like they know him. They say Moshe Rabbeinu, like they know him too. They say Rabbi Meir. They say Baba Sali. They say Rav Ovadia. They say all types of names. They drop names like they know these people. How come you don't listen to them then? So if your Torah is not changing you, then it's lo bashamayim. Ministering to the sages, closeness to the colleagues, sharp discussion with students, deliberation, knowledge of scripture and Mishnah. All of these different things have to do with the realization that the Torah is not only for the individual, it's also something that we're supposed to understand, that it's for all of us. You're supposed to learn with other people. You're supposed to realize that Hashem gave the Torah to a nation, not to an individual. In this week's parasha, we see that Hashem Yitbarach, in chapter 25, Parashat Truma, chapter 25, verse 10, it says, when it talks about V'asu Aron Atzei Shitim, when they're making the ark, it says they shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits. And it gives the measurements of making the ark. It says they meaning people are going to make this ark. But then the verse number 11, 12, 13, it doesn't say they anymore. It says, and you shall cover it with pure gold, the same ark. And you shall cover it, and you shall make it with gold crown around it, and you shall cast for it 4 rings. You shall make staves for the acacia wood, and you. But you, in Hebrew, doesn't mean you plural like it does in English. In English, the word you can mean for an individual, can mean for multiple people. In Hebrew, it doesn't. Ata is for an individual. Or at is for an individual. Ata is for a man, at for a woman. But if it's for people, if it's for multiple, it's atim. It's a completely different word. It has the same root, but it's a different word. So you can't say that here we mean 1, here we mean 2. So every time it says, beginning it says ve'asu, but then after that it says ve'atzakta, meaning all the other words that describe the action is for an individual. So why is it in the beginning that he's saying you as in plural, all of you will make this aron, this ark, but then the details, you individually, is because a person needs to know, on one end, the Torah is given to all of us. All of us. The Torah is given to everybody. All of you should learn it together. All of you should fulfill it. All of you should do it. But also, don't forget the you in it, meaning there are chidushim just for you. There are obligations just for you. There are certain insights just for you individually. There is the us, and then there is the you. The overall ark, the overall Torah was given to all of us. For all of us to fulfill and follow. But there's also an individual you. There's also an individual you. So when a person learns, he knows he needs to learn with a chavruta, with a rabbi, with people, but he also needs to learn by himself. There are certain things that you're not going to be able to learn with other people. There are certain things that you can't learn by yourself. Bottom line is you need to learn by yourself and you need to learn with somebody else too. Limited business activity, limited sexual activity, limited pleasures, limited sleep, limited conversation, limited laughter, slowness to anger, all of these different things are the pleasures of the world. A person needs to limit them in order to take the physicality with a grain of salt. The physical pleasures of the world are available to you, but if you do it too much, it becomes bad. With the exception of Torah being the only thing that you're allowed and it's actually recommended to do too much of, Everything else in life you're not allowed to do too much of. Everything else that you do in life, if there's too much, it'll create a problem. Slowness to anger, a good heart, faith in sages, acceptance of suffering. This is different ways that knowing one's place, being happy with one's lot. These are all different things that are supposed to be the outcome of your Torah as well. Not just something that you should prepare and you should learn from, you should do yourself even to inherit the crown of Torah, but this is also a way that you can test your Torah, test your learning. Is your anger still the same as it was 2, 3, 4 years ago since you started learning Torah? If it's the same, we have a problem. Why? Because the Torah, if it's a real Torah, by default it's supposed to soften you. If you're just as angry today as you were 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years ago, we have a serious problem. We have to see, maybe you're learning the New Testament or something. Maybe you're learning Harry Potter. Maybe you're learning Fiddler on the Roof. Because the Torah is not, you're not supposed to say the same gremlin. You're supposed to be, something's supposed to happen. You're supposed to soften. Maybe you're not going to become, perfect, but something has to change. And you have to be honest with yourself. Rate yourself from 1 to 10. 5, 10 years ago, your anger level was at a 10. If it's still at a 9 or a 10, nothing has changed, then there's something wrong. But if it's changed, you're still angry, but you're, let's say, at a 6. You're at a 5. Okay, it's progress. It's progress, Baruch Hashem. It's progress. Eventually, B'ezrat Hashem will get to 0. But there's at least progress. Same thing with your heart. Same thing with a person viewing the world. If every time you see other people succeeding, you eat your heart a little bit, no good. No good. Why? That means that you still have jealousy in your heart. Jealousy in your heart means you're not going to be resurrected with the dead. You have to do tshuva. Not allowed to be jealous of other people except if it's for Torah. That's the only thing you're allowed to be jealous of. Somebody having more Torah than you. Other than that, you're not allowed to be jealous of anything. Not more money, not his wife. Velo tachmod. It's one of the 10 commandments. Faith in the sages. This is one of the biggest difficulties that I see in American Judaism. I have no idea about people in Israel to the same extent as people I see here. But I see that it's very common for people to either ignore or even insult certain types of mystical teachings, like the Zohar, Kabbalah, different Haggadot in the Gemara or in different books, different stories of the sages or Chachamim, even of this world. And it's really sad. I had somebody, show me different videos of certain rabbis, mamash, making an entire video. Made an entire video of how you don't need to listen to these Aggadot. It's all fairy tales, like the Goyim tell stories. Am Yisrael says stories. We have nothing else to do in our life. This, Rabotai, is kfirah. A person like that, you're not allowed to count them in minyan. Excuse me. Now, yes, of course, there are certain issues that you have to treat Aggadot differently than you treat Halakha, but to disrespect Divrei Chachamim, to say this is nonsense, to say you can ignore this, kfirah in the Torah. Kfirah in the Torah. So, a person needs to know, if Hashem allowed something to be written in a holy book that's called the foundation of our oral Torah, like the Gemara, if Hashem allowed this to be out of all of the entire oral Torah that we have, which is endless. We don't have the entire oral Torah. We don't have all of it. In the beginning, we weren't even allowed to write it. So Hashem allowed it to happen in the world because He obviously knew that if Rebbe wasn't going to put it in pen to paper, Hashem and Hashem would forget everything. So Hashem allowed it to happen. But He didn't allow all of the oral Torah to be written, just a small part of it, which is still enormous and endless, but nonetheless, it's not everything. Which means, if Hashem allowed this specific story to be in the Gemara, if Rabbi Akadosh decided to put this story, this Haggadah in the Gemara, in a midrash, in one of the Sifrei Tzadikim, and so on and so on. If Hashem allowed this to come to the world, obviously it has extraordinary mashmaut, significance. To say, oh, you could just ignore this, this is just fairy tales and things of that nature, it's mamash busha v'chirpa. You should be ashamed of yourself of how you're disrespecting the Chachamim. And one of the prerequisites to be an owner of a Keter Torah is faith in the sages. Having emunat Chachamim. You don't have emunat Chachamim, you're never going to get Torah. Why? Torah is implemented into the world by Chachamim. And what ends up happening is a lot of these people, they end up being their own Chacham. They decide who's right and who's left. They decide how to psak. They decide to be their own posek, their own rabbi, their own Baal Musar, their own Talmid, their own wife, their own husband, their own everything. So a person like this, you have to stay away from. Once you see a person going against Divrei Chachamim, going against even the Chachamim of this generation, not just of 150 years ago, it's easy to respect the Rambam. It's easy to respect the Baal Shem Tov. It's easy. What's hard is to respect people of today. Now, what does this lead to? Remember the example I gave you a little while ago about the root? So today, what ends up happening is that people sometimes ask a question and say, where's the source for such and such of what you said? Where's the source for such and such of what you said? And I say, oh, it's in the Rambam. It's in the Rambam and Ilchot Teshuva. Chapter this, such and such. It's in the Yoreh De'ah. It's in this, it's in that. Now, if the person is kosher, they're content, they're happy, you give them you ask for a question, they got an answer, we're good. You move on. Oh, Chazaku Baruch, thank you very much. Now, I have what you said, I have the proof of it, let's move forward. Do you know how many times this happens? Almost never. Almost never. Why? Because people simply have no emunat chachamim. What do I say? You give him something, he's like, oh, it's the Rambam? You don't have anything else? You don't have like, maybe you have a Shulchan Aruch maybe? You have a modern posek that said it? And I say to myself, Ribono shel olam, how does Hashem allow this world to continue? This guy just feels like, or this woman just feels like it's just okay to completely ignore the Rambam. Ignore this, like, no, you have, what, the Rambam, that's all you have? You only have the Rambam? Only the Rambam? You only have the Shulchan Aruch? You only have Avadia? You only have this? You only have that? You have something else? They treat it like it's a shopping list for a supermarket for Shabbat. Oh, you got this tchina? You couldn't get the other one? You don't get the other one. It has, they treat poskim like they treat tchina. Or different types of hummus. Oh, you got picante? Ah, no, I like the other one. I like the other one. I don't like picante. I don't like this one. I don't like tzabal. I like different hummus. They treat poskim, they treat chachamim like it's hummus. Hashem Yerachem. This means there's problem with the root, which means that no matter what answer you give him, what answer you give her, nothing's going to change. Because the problem has nothing to do with the chacham. It's the root. Something happens. Something is rotten here. I have some people, I gave them maybe 15, 20 sources. For certain things, still no good. Still no good. Why? They weren't looking for answers. They're looking for excuses to justify their behavior. And these people usually end up suffering a lot in life. What's the problem with this? Is that if they actually accepted Divrei Chachamim, they would accept suffering, like it says in this Mishnah. If they don't, they suffer, and the suffering creates more suffering. It's a domino effect. Knowing one's place, being happy with one's lot, making a protective fence around his personal matters, claiming no credit for himself, being beloved, loving the omnipresent, loving his creatures, loving righteous ways, loving justice, loving reproof, keeping far from honor, not being arrogant with his learning, not enjoying halachic decision making. These are all different things that are ben adam lechaviro and ben adam lemakom, that you could use actually. These are different prerogatives of different aspects of how you can have a relationship between you and Hashem, and also you and your fellow. Being beloved, the Gemara says, if a person is beloved here, he'll be beloved in shamayim. If people here love him, in shamayim they love him. But really love him, not just love what he has. Really love him, meaning that if he calls them at 4 o'clock in the morning, he needs help, they'll be happy to help him. Why? Because they really love him. If he needs a ride to the airport, they're happy to do it, even though they're busy. If he needs a loan, they're the first ones to go collect money to get the money together. Why? Because they really love him. Because he did something good in his life to cause other people to love him. If somebody did enough good in this world to cause people to truly love him, in shamayim, he's also going to cause people, Hashem, to love him. And that's why it follows with loving the omnipresent. If a person is doing things enough to cause people to love him, it's also because he is doing things for Hashem to love him. If he does things to make Hashem love him, Hashem is going to make the people love him. Loving creatures, loving righteous ways, loving justice, loving reproof. These are all different things that a person needs to connect to on a day-to-day basis. Even if they can't do it themselves, they have to love it. Meaning that even if they can't be the most righteous person themselves today like they want to be and they know they should be, when they see it, they should admire it. When they see it, they should support it. When they hear it, they should publicize it. And this is one of the biggest things that we need today. We need a lot more reproof. We need a lot more love and reproof. People have a lot, they think that they show each other love by not rebuking each other. In reality, that's not love. It's evil. Because if you know that your friend has a disease and you're not willing to tell him the cure, then that's evil. It's not a good thing. So if you love your friend, you will give him the cure, even if the cure hurts a little bit. Even if the cure means you have to rebuke him, or you have to bring him the rabbi who's going to rebuke him. And once you see that person do tshuva, don't start saying, oh, you see this guy? Yeah, I helped him do tshuva. His whole family? Me. Those little cute kids with little pants? It's me, I did it. Can't do stuff like that. Why? You can ruin the whole thing. You can ruin the whole thing. Why? Because now you're going to cause these people to become embarrassed. And that embarrassment can create a huge yetzirah that's strong enough to destroy an entire family. Person sees, well, every time he sees you, you remind him that you're the one that helped him meet the rabbi, that helped him do tshuva. That's not a mitzvah, it's an avirah. First of all, you're not supposed to remind a Baal tshuva he did tshuva, or a convert that he converted, unless it's for some toilet, some useful purpose. And even then, you have to be extremely careful for 10 generations. Second of all, no one necessarily wants to be reminded of their past. What if I start reminding everybody else of their past, all of their embarrassing moments of their past? How would you feel? That's number 2. Number 3, each person has an ego. Everybody has an ego of some kind. Everybody has some kavod that they have. If you remind them of their weaknesses, if you remind them that they owe you a favor, if you remind them that they are, they should show you a gratitude, they're indebted to you, this can make a person sick to their stomach, to the point where they say, you know what? I'm so sick of hearing this guy say that it's all due to him. You know what? I don't feel like doing it anymore. And a person could literally start getting off the derech, not because of Hashem, but because of you, because of the person that's constantly reminding them that they're a convert, or that they're a Baal Tshuva, or they're this, or they're that, and it's thanks to you, or him, or that they finally fixed everything. Unfortunately, this is very, very common in the secular world when people, for example, go to like a rehab, and somebody, sent them to rehab, and the guy got off drugs or got off alcohol, and but every time he sees his friend and they're in front of people, his friend takes the initiative, says, "Oh yeah, you know him. He looks good to you, right? Listen, 5 years ago, He was in rehab. He decides to expose this guy to the world. Yeah, 5 years ago, this guy was a mess. Tell him. Tell him you were a mess. He doesn't want to tell him. Why are you telling him? And misken, the poor guy, is embarrassed as can be. He was trying to fit in. He's 5 years already clean, but you decided to publicize. Why? Because at the end of the story, what happens? He mentions you. Because you're the one that paid for rehab. You're the one that took him. You're the one. Why are you embarrassing this guy? To lift yourself up. That means you're evil. Evil. If there was even an ounce of mitzvah in what you did, the averah that you did is much worse. That person goes home, most likely starts drinking again. Most likely does another line. Most likely does another needle. Why? You know how you embarrassed him? You just broke him into 50 million pieces. 50 million pieces. That's why I don't believe, and the Torah doesn't believe, in this AA way where they start off their meetings. First of all, it's usually in a church, which is a place of idolatry, so nothing good can come out of such a thing. Second of all, usually the way that they recommend for people to start off their intervention or their communication with people is that, hi, I'm John, and I'm an alcoholic. That's horrible. If you're clean for 5 years already, 10 years already, 20 years already, you're not an alcoholic. You were an alcoholic, but today you're not. But no, they want you to remember. Why? Because if you forget, you're going to stop coming. If they want you to believe that your alcoholism, that your drug addiction is a disease that's not curable. Because if it's curable, why are you going to come back? They want you to believe it's this, so they constantly destroy people. With every meeting. People say, no, it helps you. What helps you? Tells you, you start off the meeting like, hi, I'm John, and I'm an alcoholic. How does that help him? How does that help the person to tell him, listen, if you're in this meeting, you're an alcoholic. We know it. You don't have to tell us. You're in this AA meeting, where do you go? AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. You're either an alcoholic, or sexaholic, or a drug addiction. You have some type of an addiction. You're just like the rest of the people in the group. Chazak u'baruch. What's happening to you now? Give us something that's going to help. People think it's not a big deal, but these words become reality. The person starts viewing themselves this way even if he overcame his trial. He's already 5, 10 years clean, but everybody reminds, no, but you remember 10 years ago you were an alcoholic. Remember 10 years ago you're an alcoholic. Listen, I remember it, but I don't need to say it out loud. No one's saying to forget. No one's saying to act like nothing ever happened and start going to bars again. But why do I have to publicize it to every single person that I meet? Why? This is actually leads to people going back. Because it keeps them mentally weak. Because their perception of themselves is horrible. Their confidence is non-existent. And even if they have it, even if they have a little bit of confidence, as soon as that friend introduces them to the new boss, or new manager, or new deal, or new investor, no, so what do you think? This guy's good, right? This guy's good. 5 years ago, this guy was a drug addict. 5 years ago, this guy was a bum. I helped him out. So listen, you guys do something good together. You owe me something. Why? I took this guy out of the gutter. And that's what you know how many times I've seen this? You know how many times I've seen this? People are much embarrassing their friend, their colleague, their spouse, their kid, in front of complete strangers. Like, what do I need to know that they're an alcoholic 5 years ago? Or even a week ago? Why do I need to know this? And even if you want to tell me because, I don't know, for whatever reason you conjured up in your mind, why can't you do it privately? Say, listen, don't take him to a bar. He's a recovering alcoholic. He can't handle one drink. Don't do it next to the guy, embarrass him in front of people. Because our halakha in the Torah says, "Amalbin pnei chavero berabim en lo chelek le'olam haba." Someone that embarrasses another in public has no share of the world to come. What does no share of the world to come means? If a person doesn't do tshuva, no share of the world to come means no Gan Eden, which leaves them only with a couple of other options. Kafakela, Gehenom, places that are a little bit less fun. A little bit less fun than Gan Eden. So here we see that a person needs to constantly take into account that any good that they did as a result of their Torah, it's good. But it doesn't mean that you have to start publicizing it to the world and saying all the wonderful things that you've done. When you're judging people, judge them favorably, set him on a truthful course, setting him on a peaceful course. These are things that we said last week. That ma'amido ala emet, ma'amido ala shalom. You have to be an honest friend, an honest colleague, an honest husband, that you're going to set your friend, your colleague, in a truthful path, meaning that you're not going to make the sin of a mitkabed beklon chavero, which is sometimes people like to prove other people wrong. Not because they're trying to teach them something, but just because they want to teach them that they know better. So they ask a person a question even though they know the answer. Do you know how many names the Torah had? Do you know? Yes. I just want to know if you know. What, are you testing me? Do I get a grade? I used to have a student like this. I used to study with him a little bit. It would drive me crazy. He would ask me questions that he learned right before the shiur. And he said, do you know such and such? Baruch Hashem, I would know, but after I caught on to it, I realized that all he wants is a little bit of tsumi. You know what tsumi is? A little bit of like, he wants like attention, like a baby. So I would say, no, tell me, where is it? What? How many names? How many this? Where does it say it? Oh, wow, chazak baruch, wow, chazak. Oh, you didn't know? Doesn't make a difference. I knew. Chazak, chidush. Didn't exist in the white world until you came. Chidush. Sometimes a person wants to ask a question just to show the other person he doesn't know. This is not a good thing. This could kill your Keter Torah. Your Keter Torah, you worked so hard for it. Now you want to decide to embarrass people because you're more knowledgeable than them. No good. No good. But at the same token, even when you give them something that's difficult to hear, difficult to say, you have to always remember the purpose, the ultimate purpose is ma'amido ala shalom, is that you have to set him on a peaceful course. You're never supposed to rebuke him for the sake of relieving yourself of the anger that you've built up. You're never supposed to rebuke her just to show her who's boss, just to show her that you're right. Sometimes I have people that send me messages, and it baffles me that they don't get the hint. Rebuke is not to tell people I told you so. Rebuke is to help people. It's to help people. But you have to understand is that some people, you can't help them. Why? They're not interested in being helped. So why do you insist on helping all the people that don't want help? Focus on the easy fish. Focus on the ones that want help. Don't try to help everybody that doesn't want help. Don't go to the church, try to convert them to Judaism. Go to the Jews, try to make them Jews. Don't go to the atheists and focus your whole life on atheists. Focus on the people that believe in God. They just don't know how to serve Him the right way. And so on and so forth. There are plenty of easier fish. You don't need to go after the hardest ones. Also, don't go and focus all of your attention on your immediate family. Even though that seems like the logical choice, it's not the right way to do it. Why? They're not going to listen to you. Even if they're interested in listening, it's not to you. They listen to a stranger. You go help strangers. As the Barbanel used to say, En Navi Baleiro. Prophet never comes to his own city. Any prophet that Hashem said, is sent to Am Yisrael, this prophet never lived in that city. He lived somewhere else. Why? If he lived in that city, everybody say, "What? You, little moshke? Little moshke, now you're all big and strong and prophet now?" Nah, come on, no. Come on, little moshkele. Stop. Chalas, no, it's me. It's me, Aaron. You remember we used to play soccer together before you became this big important prophet? You remember? No. They're never going to let him go. So, a person needs to be reminded that the goal of your rebuke, the goal of your advice, the goal of your teaching Torah is to create shalom. To create shalom, we see in Proverbs, chapter 3, verse number 17, Shlomo HaMelech says, Darkea darkei noam v'kol netivotea shalom. That the ways of the Torah are the ways of pleasantness, and all of its pathways are peace. What does it mean, all of its paths? I mean, you see that many people, especially people that are either atheists or haters of religion in general, they blame all the wars and disasters in the world in the name of religion. Now, even though technically there are many wars that were a result of religious beliefs, it's not religion's fault. It's not the Torah's fault, actually I should say. It is religion's fault, it's not the Torah's fault. Why? The Torah is for the sake of peace. If you look at the Torah, in the entire Torah, Am Yisrael never attacked another nation. We have even rules of war. Even when we were gifted the land of Israel, we had to offer all of the people that lived there at the time peace. You want peace? Good. No peace? Before we declare war as a nation, before we declare war on a nation, we have to offer them a peace. And that's why even till this day, even though the state of Israel is not exactly a religious state, even today the Jewish people still have this sense of mercy that's unlike any other nation. Before we decide to bomb some area in Gaza or somewhere else, what do? They take a helicopter or a plane of some kind, and they throw 1 million flyers. They're saying, leave, because we're going to bomb this place in a few hours. Like you're warning the enemy to run away so you don't kill them. I mean, people that actually learned in battle and war and so on, saying this is unlike any other nation in the world, unlike any army in history. Who does such a thing? It's like, listen, I have a gun. I'm going to shoot you, so run. What do you mean? If we're at war, you're not supposed to give me a warning. I didn't give you a warning. But the nation of Israel has no interest in war. Nation of Israel has no interest in any type of fighting. So, needless to say, a person that wants to live a life of Torah needs to know that the purpose of his Torah, the purpose of her Torah, is to create peace. But not fake peace. Not the fake peace that's rampant today, where these communities accept everyone as they are, whether you're Reform or you're conservative or you're Christian or you're a Jew or you're whatever. Everybody in the same building. Let's have religious unity. No, my friends. That's not peace. That's kfirah. That's heresy. Peace we're talking about is that you're supposed to teach people the truth and get them to serve Hashem the way they're supposed to, the way Hashem decreed, in a peaceful way, where even though sometimes it's going to get heated because they don't want to hear what you're saying, they're getting upset, you're not allowed to get upset. They can be upset as much as they want, but you yourself are not allowed to get upset. You're not allowed to say, oh, I told you. No, there's no I told you. You are supposed to keep yourself contained. You're supposed to just keep your cool. I understand. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard for you to change. I know that it's very difficult for you to leave him because he's not Jewish. I know it's very hard for you to leave her because she's not Jewish. I know it's very hard for you to move from this community because they're not Jewish. I know it's very hard to do all these different things. But if you want to live the will of Hashem, this is what you have to do. I know you don't have to yell at me. You could, listen, you can if you want to yell at me. This is what it says in the Torah. I'm trying to help you, and so on and so forth. This is the way you're supposed to go to people and tell them. You're never supposed to say, no, listen, yeah, it's okay what you're doing. Don't worry, Hashem will understand you. Somebody sent me a message today. Says he wants me to become part of this organization. that promotes religious unity. Religious unity. People from all walks of life will be part of this big organization and so on. So it seems like he was a Russian Jew, obviously not very religious, but seems like that's what he was. So I said my comment, my response to him was, I don't believe, or we don't believe. I didn't say I'm sorry, because I'm not sorry for it. I said we don't believe in religious unity. And people contact me for all types of strange things every day, sometimes for jobs, business, this, that, and stuff like this also. So he responds and says, well, why not? Why don't you believe in religious? Could you please elaborate? I said, okay, well, do you believe in the God of Israel? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in the God of Israel? Or you believe in multiple gods? He said, no, I believe in the God of Israel. Okay, I said, okay, so here's the thing. Just let's play this situation out. You believe in the God of Israel, and let's say you're going to have this religious unity. You're going to bring all these different people in one big room, one big stadium, and you're going to tell them, let's have religious unity. So the guy that prays to the God of Israel, you guys are all here. Then the people that pray to the cow here, and the people that pray to the idol here, and the ones that pray to the rats, and the dogs, and the cats, and the roaches, and whoever else they pray to. Everybody here. Now you have to answer. Now you have everybody in one room. They're all praying. And they're all worshiping, right? You, God, you and your group are praying to the God of Israel that you say you believe in, which means that you believe in the Torah. Or at least you think you do. And then everybody else that's praying to their idols is also praying and will and so on, right? For the sake of unity. For the sake of unity, right? The Reformed, the Conservative, the Open Orthodox, the Closed Orthodox, the Modern Orthodox, all these different things. You're all in the same room, right? Religious unity, right? All these call size them right? Here's the problem. You have to answer two questions. Question number one. Where in the Torah does it say that such a thing is allowed? Did Hashem not say, that the God of Israel not say that he is a jealous God and you shall not have another God before me? It's in the Ten Commandments. Where did he say that you're allowed to have this idolater next to you? Pray next to you. Worship next to you. Teach next to you. According to Halakha, you're not even allowed to be within 6 feet of him. Standing. Forget worshiping. You're not allowed to stand 6 feet of him. You're not allowed to do business with him. If he's an idol worshiper, if he's a regular goy, not an idol worshiper, no problem. If he's an idol worshiper, you're not allowed to even do business with him. So where does it say you're worshiping with him? No. Who said you're allowed to befriend this reform guy that prays to a dog that he just gave a par mitzvah to? Who said this? Where? The God of Israel didn't say this. So you said you believe in the God of Israel. Where does it say what you say? Question number two. What gives you the confidence that your community, your followers, your students, your colleagues are all so strong in their belief of and following of the God of Israel that they're not going to be enticed to go start worshiping some idols with the Christians and the Indians and the others and the Chinese? What gives you the confidence that maybe 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 of them are not weak to the point where as soon as they hear what J.C. Penney over there says, that you don't have to do anything and everything's okay, and that Buddha says that all you have to do is feel good and everything's going to be good, including the cancer, and all the cow is saying is moo, and everybody says yay, and that means everything's good. So what gives you the confidence that one of your community members, one of your 15-year-olds in the community, one of your 25-year-olds in the community, one of your slackers in the community is not going to buy into that system and leave the God of Israel for the sake of religious unity? Because if there's religious unity, that means that you're putting a stamp on it that it's all okay. The Reform's okay, the Conservatives okay, the Christians okay, the Catholics okay. Where in the Torah does it say that such a thing is okay? Abutai, the Torah does not allow any such thing as religious unity. There is no such thing as religious unity. There's either the Torah or there's idol worship. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no in between. There's no, they're right for their own way. No, they're allowed to worship Jesus because they're not Jews. No such thing. There's no such thing. There's no such permission. There's a Torah and there's idolatry, which means that even the goy has to follow the Torah, follow his own laws within the Torah, not the Mitzvot of Am Yisrael, but there's the Noahide laws. There's no such thing as religious unity. You're not allowed to have your local church and your local synagogue have a basketball tournament together, have events together. No such thing. You are supposed to have as much room far away from each other as possible, to such an extent the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah says you're not even allowed to have a meal with them, a big meal with them, a festive meal with them. Why? A meal. We're not talking about having, your 500 people from your kehillah, his 5,000 people from his stadium, his community, and you guys are just blending in. 500 Jews are blending in to 5,000 Catholics. It's not really, it's like a rounding error. What's the problem? Well, we're just a small little team. They already have everything going on. What's the problem? What's just fitting in? The problem is, Rabotai, it's not only is the big one not allowed, even you inviting your local pastor, your local priest and his family to come to your house for lunch, to have dinner with him and his family, even that's not allowed. Why? Because chas v'shalom, your kids should never think that, they're just like us. We eat, they eat. We drink, they drink. They speak, we speak. They're human beings, we're human beings. So we could get married. We get married. Why? What's the problem? We get married. The Gemara already 2,000 years ago told us about this. Dinner together is not allowed. You think a basketball tournament is allowed? You think a football tournament is allowed? You think anything is allowed? We're not saying go throw rocks at them, chas v'shalom, or be mean to them, or anything like that. No, you have to be nice to everybody. But nice from a distance. Nice from a distance. Why? Because you don't want your kids intermarrying theirs or even having the thought that it's okay. No, I'll convert her. No, I'll convert him. He'll be like this. Convert him. He'll convert you. He'll convert you. Now you're going to convert him. Why? It's much easier to convert to his idolatry than to your Eved Hashem religion. So, Ma'amidah ala shalom, setting him on a peaceful path is that yes, you're supposed to promote peace, but there is a legitimate peace and there is illegitimate peace. Now that we finished the introduction, it says the mityashev libo betalmudo, thinking deliberately in his study. The Midrash Shmuel says that he studies in a composed and steady manner, but this also means that when he has a shiur, he reviews it after it's recorded. You watched the shiur, you sat down for the shiur, you watched it on Facebook Live, you watched it on YouTube Live, you watched it here and there. If this is a real shiur, not only are you going to take down notes, but you're going to review them. You're going to review the shiur again. Why? Because this is divrei Elokim Chaim. These are words of the living God. This is the difference between life or death. If this is a shiur, meaning this is real Torah, you treat this like this is Mount Sinai. If it's not, why do you come? For entertainment? It's a much cheaper way of entertaining yourself without spending the gas money. Why? What are we being entertained for? Am Yisrael is supposed to learn Torah, not be entertained. There's no mitzvah in the Torah that says be entertained. V'gita bo yomam v'layla, entertainment. You got to in the morning and night entertainment. No such thing. It says you have to learn Torah. Learn Torah. If you're learning Torah, you have to take it seriously, it says. He reviews the lesson afterwards in order to make sure that everything is clear, meaning that you wrote the note this way. After you watch it again, You see, oh, wait a minute. I wrote this. I wrote Shmuel, but in reality it's Moshe. I made a mistake because I was in a hurry. I understood yes, but in reality he said no. I didn't understand it the first time. You have to go over it. I do this till this day with the shiurim with Rabbi Ephraim. Even though him and I study together, we record the shiur. And record the shiur and then we put it online. So a lot of times you hear just the audio. That is some of the shiurim between him and I. And more times than not, it's just him talking. I'm in the background. He has something to say. I have something to listen to. But many times I'll go over the shiur again. And if it depends on the type of shiur, sometimes if it's, let's say, for example, a shiur of 30 minutes, it'll take me 3 to 4 hours to go over it. Depending on the shiur. But many times, if it's a 30-minute shiur, it'll take me 3 hours to go over it. Why 3 hours? You just press play, you finish. No, 30 minutes. How could 30 minutes transfer to 3 hours? Because now, when he was saying it, I wrote some things. I wrote as much notes as I possibly can. But I did fast, and I didn't delve, I didn't think. But now I'm going over it again. It's like, oh, Gemara said, I get the Gemara. I start looking at what's before what he said, what's after what he said. Because in his mind, the thought is complete. In my mind, it's brand new. It's like a little baby. So I want to get to a developed thought. So I go study the verse before, the verse after. Sometimes page before, 5 pages before. It depends. I want to put some more cushion on this. So I'll look. If I have the book, I go, I get it, I listen to it again. And again, sometimes he says the sources, so many sources so fast, I have to play the same thing, the same 3 minutes, like for 30 minutes. Why? Because he says it so fast. So I have to, okay, write it, I put the thing. Rewind again. Write it, again, rewind again. Rewind again. It takes me 10 minutes, 20 minutes to write the sources. Why? Because there's so many sources. But the point is that why? Why do you put something into this? Why so much effort? I mean, technically I could just listen with that 3 hours, I could listen to 10 other shiurim. No? I didn't mean that literally. It's 6 other shiurim. I know some hero is going to say that I'm bad in math. 6 other shiurim. But the point is that why? Because you have to treat the Torah like it's Mount Sinai. Meaning, the understanding, your understanding of yes or no is life or death. It's not nice or not nice. Good, not good. No. Everything is constantly life or death. Everything. The Shulchan Aruch says that if somebody violates Shabbat on purpose, not accidental, but even if he violates Shabbat, a rabbinical sin, not a biblical sin, a rabbinical one, where he decides that he's not going to follow the rabbinical mitzvot of Shabbat, he's going to start touching muktzeh. Muktzeh is a rabbinical mitzvah. And he decides that this is not for him. He doesn't really care what the rabbis say. He touches muktzeh on purpose with no care in the world. People see him. At least 10 people know he does it. Meaning it's befaretzia. It's not like a secret. It's not an accident. It's not he's in a closed room and nobody knows. People know. Oh, David over there. Yeah. He moves his phone, touches the pens. Muktzeh, it's not even a mitzvah for him. Such a person, the Shulchan Aruch, Orach Chaim, Alachot Shabbat, Siman Shin Pei Hei, Saif Gimel, says, Arehu ke'akum. He is like a idol worshipper. Even if it's a Isur de Rabbanan. Why? Because this person simply took Divrei Chachamim and completely ignored them. It's needless to say if he does this for a biblical sin. But we're talking about even if it's something that's a rabbinical, which is different and not always lower. The point is that as soon as a person decides that this is going to be a sin, I'm just going to do and care less about, this person is treated, according to halakha, like an idol worshiper. Even if he has a big beard and a kippah and everything. Because he's not treating the Torah with the respect that it deserves, with the honor that it deserves. So when a person sees that, okay, this is emet, this is sheker, this is life, this is death, he starts treating his Torah like life or death, now he's going to study it that way. He's going to take things into account. Okay, you know what, what he just said is really, really hard for me to do. But if it's significant, if it's important, I have to find a way to do it. I have to find a way to do it. That's the right mentality. Okay, it's hard, but I have to find a way to do it. Because if Hashem put it in the world, that means that I can do it. I just find it hard because I haven't done it yet. I haven't got used to it yet. Not be the type of person that says, nah, this guy is a machmir. This guy is too strict. That's what people all the time say. No, I like your strict nature. It's not strict. People always tell me all the time, the first conversation, all the time that people make comments on the internet or send me their mail, letters, and things like that. People that are fans, Baruch Hashem, they learn. Sometimes they learn for a long time before I even know that they even exist. And they send you a letter, and many times it's common, they say, oh, I like your strict nature. I like that you're so strict. Let me just say this once and for all. I'm not strict. What I teach, what we teach, is the minimum requirement. It's not strict. This is the minimum that God expects of all of us. The fact that everyone else is not teaching it, it's not that they're more lenient. They're just kufrim. They're just heretics. Whoever's teaching you something that contradicts this, so it tells you that you're allowed to drive on Shabbat, it tells you that you're allowed to waste seed, it tells you that watching your eyes is too difficult in this generation, that's not being lenient. That's being a heretic. That's being a Christian. That's being an idol worshiper. That's being against the Torah. What we teach is basic minimum. And if I ever mention anything that's above the minimum, and I specifically do it, it's very rare, I tell you, this is midat chasidut. Midat chasidut, as I've explained it to you many times, is above and beyond the requirement. But this is not what we teach. We teach basic minimum. It's not strict. There's nothing strict about it. This is the minimum. Which is why I always tell people to focus on the minimum. Don't be strict. Don't be over stringent. Why? Because even doing the minimum is difficult for most people. Why? Because the minimum, most people today understand it as the maximum. If we simply became experts in the minimum, you're already in great position. You're already in great position. If we just simply focus on the minimum, just get by as a kosher Jew. Just get by. Keep Shabbat the way you're supposed to keep Shabbat. Keep Halakha the way you're supposed to keep Halakha. Keep your midot the way you're supposed to have it. If you just do the basic minimum, you're already in great shape. But don't call it strict. Why? Because if you start calling it strict yourself, guess what? Your kids are going to call it fanatic. If you call it strict, when it's really not strict, guess what? Your kids are going to call it fanatic. So, yeah, my mom and dad, they're very fanatic. Why? My mom, she wears this dress. It covers her whole body. She's like crazy. What? Yeah, my mom, she wears this dress. It's covers her whole body. She doesn't even show her arms. She doesn't even show her arms. She's like crazy. What do you mean crazy? That's the basic minimum. No, that's stringent. That's fanatics do that. No, it's not fanatics. That's the minimum. That's the minimum, Rabotai. That's the minimum. That's the minimum. So, a person that is thinking deliberately and is studying is going to make sure that he understands things clearly. What's minimum? What's a minimum requirement? What's a stringency? Stringency, unless it's an easy stringency, don't do it. Sometimes there's a stringency that's easy. Stringency by default doesn't mean hard. It just means it's above and beyond what you're required. So for example, there is Chalav Yisrael. Chalav Yisrael according to Moshe Feinstein, is great, but as long as you keep kosher, as long as the milk that you're getting is kosher, you're not obligated to have Chalav Yisrael. Which means that Chalav Yisrael, for better or for worse, right now, because of the laws that protect the milk industry in America and in the modern society today, you don't have to worry that the goyim are mixing cow milk with pig milk or with camel milk or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about it. As long as it's kosher, there's a shgacha that it's kosher, there's a kosher stamp, you could drink the milk. It doesn't have to be Chalav Yisrael. But if you want to observe Chalav Yisrael, that stringency, yavo alav bracha, you'll have an extra blessing. There are certain things that you're allowed to do, but if you don't do them, yavo alav bracha, you'll get an extra blessing because you didn't do it. There's certain things that are allowed to do. You're allowed to do certain things, but if you don't do them, you'll get an extra blessing. And you'll see it throughout the poskim, different poskim. They write, such and such is allowed, but whoever doesn't do it, whoever refrains from doing it, yavo alav bracha, will get an extra blessing for not doing it. Meaning it's allowed. But if you want to take it up a notch in your avodat Hashem, don't do it. Even though you're allowed to do it, don't do it. Refrain from doing it. Or the opposite. You don't need to do something, but you do it. You don't need to do it. Not that you're not allowed to do it. You don't need to do it, but you do it. You want to be a chassid. Yavo alav bracha. So there are different things that a person can do midat chassidut. Doesn't mean that you're a chassid. It just midat chassidut means above and beyond your required. And if you do it, you'll have extra blessings in your life. Now, I only recommend to anyone that listens to my shiurim, to anyone that attends them, anyone watches them, and so on, to focus on the minimum requirements, basic halacha, and if you want to take it up a notch, you already are good with the minimum, or at least with everything that you know is the minimum, and you want to take on some other stringency, only allow yourself the easy ones. The easy stringencies, not the hard ones. Only the easy one. Like for example, Chalav Yisrael may be easy for some people, may not. If you are a very dedicated consumer of milk, it may be difficult for you to have Chalav Yisrael. Why? Because you like chocolate and all types of cheesecakes and so on. And many times, unless you live in New York or in Los Angeles or different places around the Israel or America that have a very, very substantial Jewish community, most likely you're not going to have a lot of Chalav Yisrael. So you're going to feel like this stringency is suffocating you. But in reality, that create a problem because now this stringency you brought on yourself is making Judaism look bad. No one ever told you to do it. You don't suffer because of anybody. You're not doing anyone any favors. On the other hand, if it's easy for you because either you're not an addict of milk products or simply you just don't consume very much of it, and so that means that it's easier for you to, let's say, for example, you have, cereal once a week. You have cereal once a week. You have cereal, twice a week or whatever it is. You don't have much milk. You have a little bit of milk in your coffee. Meaning, you're not a very big dairy eater. You should do it. Why? Because it's easy for you. All you got to do is just, instead of getting the carton of milk that's regular kosher milk from the supermarket, get it from the kosher store. It says Chalav Yisrael. That's it. It's very simple. All you have to worry about is one product. But if you're getting different types of cheeses and so on and so forth, then it's not something I recommend, not something that any Rav would recommend for you to do, at least not in the early stages. Point is that if you want to do any type of chassidut, do ones that are easy. Same thing also goes with fasting. Some people that start doing tshuva, they listen to different types of Kabbalistic teachings, especially things that have to do with wasting seed and Chilul Shabbat, where they go into the Arizal and different Mekubalim that talk about how a person needs to fast and should fast a couple of times a week. Don't fast. If you ask any of the Chachamim that was Gdolei Ador, they'll tell you don't fast. Why? Because most people, when they fast, they're pretty much useless. We don't really understand how to fast. We think that fasting is not eating. That's what we think fasting is. No, not eating is a diet. That's what not eating is. Not drinking is a diet. It's not fasting. Fasting is that you are serving Hashem. You're learning Torah all day. You're praying all day. You are serving Hashem all day, spiritually only. Which means you're not consuming any drinking, any eating. That's it. That's fasting. Show me anybody that's doing this today that's an average Baal Tshuva, that hasn't been already in the Olam Torah for a long time. Most people think that fasting is just not eating. No, that's just a diet. So most people, when they fast, they simply become useless, where you give them a book they can't read. Why? Because they're thinking about coffee, thinking about drinking, they're thinking about eating. They're hungry, they're tired. All of a sudden they want to take a shower. All of a sudden they want this. They sleep half the day. Gemara Masechet Ta'anit. Hashem says to the prophet, go tell Am Yisrael, even during Yom Kippur, even during Tisha B'Av, I'm not interested in your fasts of ripping your clothes and not eating. I'm interested in you ripping your hearts. Meaning the fast is supposed to repair your neshama, do tshuva, serve Hashem. It's not about, Hashem doesn't care if you eat, don't eat. So the point is that unless you can serve Hashem to the same or better while not eating and drinking, simply fasting is not for you. If you're going to learn 2, 3, 4, 5 dapim of Gemara in one day without fasting, and if you fast, you learn even a half of a Gemara, half of page less, don't fast. We're not talking about you'll learn at all. Even if it's less, one line less, don't learn. Why? The value of one word in the Torah is worth than all the fast you're ever going to do in your life. But if you could learn the same or more, then ashrecha, then you should do something about it. So, this is also, again, a person that wants to learn, wants to serve Hashem, wants to do above and beyond. He needs to know when and how. She needs to know when and how. The Rashit Chochmah says a story of a woman that used to fast all the time. But when Yeshua ben Levi went to go see Gehinom, he saw this woman that used to fast, that they used her head as the entrance to Gehinom, to hold the door. Her ear was to hold the door. Horrible punishment. So he said, what? Why? This woman used to fast all the time. What's the problem? It's good, no? She covered her hair, she matters. What's the problem? Why such a horrible punishment? Oh, yeah, she used to fast. But then she used to tell everybody that she's fasting. So everybody thinks that she's a tzadikah. She wants everybody to talk about her. She's a tzadikah. They said, okay, so we're going to make your ear nice, the holder for the door. You're going to see everybody talking about you. What a nice holder this ear is. It's much better than the other one. They're going to talk about you. Don't do mitzvot for people to talk about you. Don't do mitzvot because people are talking about you. Do mitzvot because Hashem said. Tiferet Yisrael says this bereit that speaks about the thorough preparation necessary before a person presents a Torah lecture. A competent and conscientious scholar prepares well both in terms of content and how it should be presented. Many people want to be a famous personality, and in today's world, everybody can become famous with simply a phone. All you got to do, take the phone, press on YouTube, press on Facebook, record yourself, say something that is a little bit taboo, and you'll become famous. You'll become famous. There's actually a whole new generation of truck drivers in Israel. Truck drivers, truck drivers, they spend a lot of time driving. They could spend, weeks at a time driving. So there's truck drivers in Israel that record themselves. and record all of their frustrations of the world. They're frustrated about the government, they're frustrated about the news, they're frustrated about this, and they record themselves. And they have become extremely popular among Israelis that they watch this. Like you see these people on like their videos, and they're just yelling and screaming and saying jokes and all types of nonsense, and they have like millions of hits. Millions, like millions of views on these nonsensical complaint rants. And people can't wait for the guy to come back tomorrow. Oh, Jackie, when you come back tomorrow, same time? Why, like you have nothing to do with your life to just hear somebody rant? Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do. So to be famous is not the goal. To teach emet should be the goal. Now anyone that's going to teach emet, whether they're teaching emet to a large auditorium full of people, or they're teaching emet to their Shulchan Shabbat. It's them, it's his wife, maybe a couple of guests, or maybe just his kids. He has to make sure whatever he's going to say, he thought about it, he prepared it. He's not just shooting from the hip. He's not just shooting from the hip. Why? If he's shooting from the hip, guess what? The audience will sense it. The audience will sense that he's not as confident as he was 2 weeks ago when he prepared it. So maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, what he was saying was true. But today he's guessing. Today he's not really so sure. Why? Because the more prepared you are, the more serious what you're saying seems, the more confidence you have. But unfortunately today, a lot of people have this false sense of confidence that comes from arrogance. When they speak with their, and it sounds like they know what they're talking about. And a lot of times, as soon as you hear what they're talking about, it's kfirah. Like this one guy that calls himself a Chabadnik, that I've talked about several times without mentioning his name. He says things that are outright kfirah, outright heresy against Hashem, outright against the Torah. I made a comment about him in one of his videos a couple of weeks ago. And that what he was saying was completely against the Torah, completely not mentioned in the Torah. He has a shiur that talks about life, life after death. What happens after you die? So I couldn't wait for him to get to Gehenom. Meaning that, we talk about Gehenom. Because that's life after death. There's Gan Eden, there's Gehenom. There's two options. So I couldn't wait because he's a Chabadnik. Or he calls himself a Chabadnik. The real Chabadniks say the truth. This guy is not even the shoelace of a real Chabadnik. Even though he calls himself one. So he says that, when you go to Gan Eden for an hour. Gan Eden for an hour. Then the last 17 minutes of the shul, he says, but Gehenom, there's no such thing as like fire. That's a Christian belief, he says. There's no such thing as fire. It's that if a person did not fulfill the mitzvot, then all that means is that his neshama, his soul, doesn't know how to be a soul. It doesn't know how to be a soul. So when it gets to heaven, it's confused. But don't worry, he tells them, don't worry. He's only confused for a year. Because he doesn't know how to be a soul for a year. And after a year, he's okay. He goes to Gan Eden. I never heard such stupidity in my life. Even from the idol worshippers don't say such stupid things. So I couldn't take it. It was like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't take it. And I made a comment. I'm like, I've already been following this guy for a long time. And father issues. And I wrote something. This what you're saying is heresy. And I provided some sources. Just look, you called yourself a Chabad. Chabad learns Tanya. Look at the Tanya. Page 8, page this, page that. From the Tanya. From Chabad. It doesn't say what you say. What you're saying is nonsense. Kfirah. So I get a phone call later that day. Maybe around 1, 2 o'clock. Number I don't know. And for some reason, my Yetzirah told me to pick up the phone. I never pick up the phone. I'm busy. I get 1 million phone calls a day. I get 1 million messages a day. Who has time to talk on the phone? Because every phone call is a half-hour minimum. So I don't have the time to talk on the phone. But I don't know why. What led me to do this? Maybe it's for this story. Who knows? I pick up the phone. Some 818 number. Some California number. Pick up the phone. Hi, Rabbi Reuven. Yes. Hi, I'm such and such. Yeah, I can help you. I was wondering if you're ready to say I'm sorry to my father. I said, excuse me? He said, I'm calling you because I wanted to find out if you're ready to say I'm sorry for what you did. I said, what did I do? And he told me, you wrote the comment there under his shiur. I said, yeah, because your father's a heretic. Why should I be sorry for it? No, what do you mean? He says, I'm like, no, what he says, show me a source of what he says. And now, his son is also a rabbi. So now I'm not talking about I'm not talking about well, actually he wasn't Amaritz. But I'm talking to somebody who calls himself a rabbi. He has kila and everything. So I said, okay, so give me a source for what he said. Oh, no, I don't remember it, but you have to understand, he's been doing it for 50 years. I said, okay, so Hashem, he's been destroying people for 50 years. You should stop. I said, all the things he says is wrong. It's not in the Torah, it's not this. And I start giving him sources. Because I've studied this a little bit. So I know the sources off the top of my head. I give him the Rambam, Teshuva, and I give him the Mishnah, all types of things, whatever. I'm expecting this guy is a rabbi, so I'm expecting him to shoot some stuff back at me. I gave you a few. You're saying I should say I'm sorry publicly, right? No problem saying publicly sorry. But you give me a reason. Give me one source. One. You don't have to give me 500. I gave you 50. Give me one. That's what I tell him. Give me one source that says anything I just said is wrong. No, I don't remember it, but you have to understand. But the results speak for themselves. Like, what results? What are results? What are you talking about? The guy is lying. He's lying about Torah. And he says something that I'm never going to forget in my life. I tell him, listen, I know that speaking about Gehinnom is not exactly the favorite subject. But no one obligates you to talk about Gehinnom. You don't have to talk about Gehinnom, the details of Gehinnom. It's not exactly a very comforting thing to talk about. Don't talk about it. Talk about something else. Talk about whatever you want to talk about, something else, 1.5 million other issues. Talk about Shlom Bayit. Talk about, talk about Bet HaMikdash. Talk about anything else. You don't have to talk about Gehinnom. But at least don't lie and tell people that everything is okay and there's no such thing as punishment. That's a lie. Just don't lie. You don't want to talk about Gehinnom. You're uncomfortable about talking about death and what happens to the body. The worms eat them. The malachim beat them up. You don't like talking about that? Don't talk about it. No problem. I'm not, who's to say? You can talk about whatever you want. Just don't lie. Because if your father continues lying, I'm telling you, I'm sick of him. I can't. I'm going to have to start speaking out. This right now, this comment that I made on the internet, it's a warning shot to stop. I'll make videos about him. Tell him to stop. He has an influence. He's got a huge following. Tell him to stop. Just stop lying. Talk about any issue in the world. Just stop lying to Am Yisrael. Stop lying to my brothers and sisters. I get emails every other day of people saying, he confused me. He confused me. You say Gehinnom, he says Gan Eden. How could it be? I said, just tell him to stop lying. And the guy says something I'm never going to forget in my life. He says, so what if he lies a little bit? Just look at the results. I said, what results? What, tzedakah? People donate money? What result? You just say, like, so what if you lie a little bit? Meaning the mitzvah we learned in last week's Parashat Mishpatim, midvar sheker tichak, that lies are so despised by Hashem, he doesn't only say don't lie, he says stay away from a lie. But this fake Chabadnik says what? So what if he lies a little bit? And so what if he lies a little bit? Meaning they know they're liars. They know they're liars. But look at the results. What results? We have 85% assimilation in some place in America and the world. We have only 50% of the so-called religious actually believe in Hashgacha Pratit. What statistics are you looking at? Your bank account? What results? What? No one can say there's such a huge influence that they're changing the world. Why? Look at the world. Okay, you got a Baal Tshuva here, you got a Baal Tshuva there. Okay, you still got another 15 million to go. So what if you lie a little bit? This, Rabotai, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. That in today's world, not only has it become acceptable for secular or even goyim to lie and cheat, unfortunately, some people that call themselves religious, some people that call themselves rabbis, have also accepted this thought, this demented thought that it's okay to lie. It's okay to cheat. Why? Because people, they decided, people cannot handle the truth. They decided, God decided that everyone can handle the truth. Why? Because the Tanakh never changed. Tanakh has stayed the same, which means that he believes and he knows about every generation that's ever going to be or ever was, which means he wrote the Torah for them. He wrote it for us. He prepared for us, which means that everybody can handle this entire Tanakh. Everybody can handle everything it says. But you decided that no, they can't handle the truth, so we can lie to them. And they're doing it, unfortunately, in the name of Chabad, destroying the name of Chabad, destroying the name of Hasidut, destroying the name of Judaism, destroying the Torah. People believe this nonsense. They believe this kfirah. And I'm telling you, you have to be a chaser of the truth if you want to get to it. You can't just accept things at face value. You have to double check everything. Even the stuff that I say. Double check everything. Why? Because people today are simply liars. Not because they're trying to get into, to beat the system. It's become the system. That's the system. Lying is the system. Lying to sell. Lying to cheat. Lying to pretend that you're doing a lot more. Why? You fake it till you make it. And by the time they found out you're faking it already, it's too far and who cares and it's too late. They're addicted already. So a person that's going to be a speaker, first and foremost, midvar sheker tichag. Don't be a liar. If you don't want to tell them certain things that are hard for you to talk about because it talks about reward and punishment and so on, talk about something else that you are comfortable with. But don't lie. The Chachamim continue, the Sfat Emet says that a person renders his heart and Mamash glues himself to the Torah to the point where Mamash all of his thoughts have to do with Torah. Mityashev libo betalmudo is that is, since he's constantly studying, it's not just when he's sitting down with a sefer. Even when he's not with a sefer, he's constantly thinking about the Torah that he learned, the kind of Torah that he's learning. Even in his things that are happening in his world. How does this transaction have to do with Torah? How does this relationship have to do with the Torah? How does this and that have to do with Torah? He's constantly thinking about how does the world around him have to do with the Torah. So even the knowledge that he acquires in his profession, let's say he wants to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or he wants to be a gemologist, or he wants to be a doctor, or a lawyer, or whatever it is. He is going to acquire that knowledge with a understanding that this knowledge too is for the purpose of serving Hashem. This knowledge too is for the purpose of learning Torah. He needs to have a sharp enough mind to know that this knowledge, he has to find a way to apply it to his learning, to his teaching. Because his heart is glued to the Torah. It's not just something that he just studies as a hobby. How does a person know that he's glued to Torah? If he's dealing with suffering and problems in life, the Sfat Emet says, but despite the problems, despite the headaches, despite the anguish and the suffering, he's still able to quell his inner tempest by means of deep Torah study This demonstrates clearly his powerful connection to the Torah. Meaning, the Sfat Emet says, you're Talmid Chacham. You're learning Torah for so many years. You're this, you're that. Let's test you. What? Bunch of problems. Bunch of problems. Let's see you study now. Go. What? The rent check didn't clear. The mortgage check gone. The car, somebody stole it. Food, empty. The fridge is crying to you. The fridge is hungry because there's no food in it. Kids are crying. Wife is, everybody's crying. Can you still study? Can you still study? If you're really glued to the Torah, you could. If you're really glued to the Torah, you can study even if there's an atomic bomb. That's what we should aspire to become. That's what we should aspire to become. Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner, Rabbi Shalom, gave an analogy. How do you know if somebody loves the Torah? How do you know if somebody loves the Torah? He gave an analogy. He says, how do you know if somebody values something? If he holds it, you don't really know by him holding it how tight he's holding it. You don't know. If he's holding something, he's holding this cup, you don't know if you flick it if it's going to fall or not. Why? Because by simply looking at my hand holding the cup, you have no idea how much pressure I'm putting on it. If I'm holding a rock, holding a ball, you have no idea if I'm holding it light enough where if you flick it, it's going to fly out, or even if you punch it, it's not going to fly out. You have no idea. So how would you find out? Try to take it away. Try to take it away. If you try to take it away, and you can't, and there's pressure, you can't take it away, that means he loves that ball. That means he loves that rock. That means he values it. If somebody tries to take away your shiur Torah and tells you, no, you're busy, you have an appointment, you have a doctor, you have a lawyer, you have a this, you have a that, you have a lot of stuff to do. You can't go to shiur Torah. You can't buy this book. You can't afford it. You can't do this. You can't do that. Somebody tries to steal your Torah. And you still achieve it. You still overcome it. You still attend. You still learn. You still stay awake. And so on. That means you love the Torah. But if you come and unfortunately you do what many of us have done, which is as soon as you arrive at the Torah, at the shiur Torah, as soon as you arrive in the book, you might as well arrive with a pillow. Why? You go to sleep. Either physically or mentally. Sometimes it's physically. Sometimes, mamash, it's better that sometimes you come with a pillow. It's like sometimes you want to go to somebody, say, I remember myself, I used to go to shiur Torah, 5 minutes, I'm done. 5 minutes, I was done. Within 5 minutes, I waited for the shiur an hour and a half because the rabbi had an unusual schedule. I would go to the shiur, they would tell me, the guys that would call me, come to the shiur, come to the shiur, come to the shiur. When? 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Okay, fine, I'll be there. I come, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever it was, rabbi's not there. For another hour and a half. He doesn't come till 10:30, 11, but everybody's waiting. Nobody's complaining. Everybody's waiting till whenever he comes. Excited, the crowd actually continues to grow. So much so that there was a guy with a kosher truck parked in front of the place. Make a lot of money while everybody's waiting 2 hours for the rabbi. Anyway, I waited 2 hours, ate some falafel, had some this, had some that. Okay, great, right? Can't wait. Rabbi comes, as soon as he starts, mamash, 2 words out of his mouth, snoring like I never slept in my life. Sometimes you are dealing with a lot of fires during the day. You have work, you have this, you have contracts, you have phone calls, you have this, all types of stuff. You fire. Finally, gets to at some point during the day, could be at night, could be during the day. You say, you know what? Let me open a sefer. Let me open a sefer, learn a little bit, do something useful in the world. You're alert. You're happy. Everything is good. Mamash, as the book opens, all of a sudden you became tired. All of a sudden you became tired. Sometimes you fall asleep on a sefer after 2 minutes. Sometimes you don't fall asleep physically, but mentally you're asleep. Mentally, you're reading the same line 500 times. You have no idea who's Rava, who's Rav, who's Abaye. What do they want from me? What about the rent? What about the rent? Is Rava going to pay rent? Is Abaye going to pay my rent? The kids are crying. Can one of you guys, Rava, Abaye, Rebbe Kadosh, one of you go tell my kids to be quiet? They're causing noise. He's asleep mentally. Why? Because he hasn't gone to the point of becoming glued to the Torah. He hasn't become glued to the Torah. This is why each one of us has to pray for it. We have to pray for it. And the only way you're going to know is if somebody tries to take it, including your Yetzer Hara. Your Yetzer Hara is going to try to take it from you in different ways. All of a sudden you have a shiur, there's an appointment. There's a this, there's a that, there's a problem, there's an argument, there's all types of stuff right before the shiur. Person has to fight for his Torah. Fight for it. Now, the Chafetz Chaim says that how do you get to a point of training your heart to become glued? He says that a person can not only study the Torah superficially, but he has to also internalize the messages of the Torah so that it elevates his mundane existence, which is what we said before, Baruch Shekivanu. The Chafetz Chaim is saying is that if a person wants to become glued to the Torah, he has to see the application of everything in his life to the Torah. The table, the chair, the ceiling, the heaven, the earth, the everything relating to the Torah. As he does it with everything, all of a sudden his brain becomes Mamash Sefer Torah. He starts thinking about Torah all the time. So all of his day he's learning Torah. All of his night he's learning Torah. Sometimes you dream about Torah. You have a dream. You're not dreaming about cats flying in the air. You're dreaming about you learning. You dream about you learning. They had Rav Kanievsky one time. He has a certain seder. He has a certain seder of how much he studies every year. It's an enormous amount. Alvai Aleinu to study such amount of Torah. And one time he's studying, and there's other people there, and he has a seder that he has to finish 7 pages of the Talmud Bavli, 7 pages of Talmud Yerushalmi every day, and so on and so forth. So one time he, while he was studying for a very, very long period of time, he, in the middle of studying, he closed his eyes. Fell asleep a little bit. And a little while later, a short period of time, a minute, 5 minutes, however long it was, no one wanted to, Chas v'shalom, tell the rabbi to wake up. He's been, barely ever sleeps anyway, as it is, so if he sleeps, let him sleep. Wakes up a short period of time later, and wakes up and goes, okay, let's go to the next daf. It's like, no, Rebbe, when the Rav closed his eyes, we were in the beginning of the daf. He goes, no, don't worry. I finished the rest of it while I was sleeping. I finished the daf. You may be sleeping and you're dreaming about cats and dogs having a good time. When someone that's good Torah goes to sleep, they're studying Torah. One time the Gaon Mivina fell asleep, and one of his Talmidim woke him up. He got so upset at him. He goes, why did you wake me up? He says, to teach you the amount of Torah that I just learned while I was sleeping would take me at least 85 years. Why? Because when you're sleeping, there's no time. He says, what I just learned while I was sleeping would take me 85 years to teach you. Why'd you wake me up? That's a brain that's glued to the Torah. It's a brain that's glued to the Torah. You know what kind of dreams people have? People have dreams that they're Mashiach. That's not a brain that's glued to the Torah. That's a brain that's full of ego. People tell me all the time, oh yeah, I dreamt that Moshe Rabbeinu talked to me. Yeah, it means you're a huge gaftan. Your ego. Ego talked to you. And you called it Moshe. You want to know if you have a mind that's glued to the Torah, you start learning during your dreams. That's when you have a mind glued to the Torah. Start having some serious learning. Not that you're a Mashiach. Not that some angel came to you. And by the way, even if you have such dreams that some angel came to you or God spoke to you or anything like that, please do yourself a favor, don't tell anybody. No, I'm serious. A lot of people do this, and it may be real. You may have had dreams that God spoke to you, or Moses saw you, or Eliyahu Navi came to you, whatever it is that people dream. Even if it's real, don't tell people. Don't tell people. Why? Almost nobody's going to believe you. And they're all going to now think that you're crazy, and you're destroying your life. They're all going to view you as crazy. No one's going to marry your kids. No one's going to marry you. No one's going to talk to you because you're crazy. You think that Moshe Rabbeinu came to you out of all people in the world. Like, who are you? Don't tell people even if it's real. I know this from experience, guys. I remember I said something like that one time in my life, and everybody said, like, is he crazy? They started talking to Rav Fine. It's like, Rav, what's wrong with your boy? So I told him something I never told anybody else, but after that I never told. After I saw people reacting to what I said, I said, okay, from now on, this is not part of the story. This is not part of the Wall Street to the Western Wall anymore. Why? People think you're crazy because they don't believe you, and they may be right. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe the demon. Who knows what it is? All I'm telling you is that people don't take it well. It's better for you to keep it to yourself. Focus on basics. Basics. We're almost done. Shoel u'meshiv, someone that's asking and answering questions. That is another thing that seems relatively simple. Relatively simple to do. But if you do it, it's one of the prerequisites in order to get the Keter Torah. What does this mean, asking and answering questions? So, Tiferet Israel explains that a person's questions should be pertinent rather than tangential and inconsequential. When a person's questions are motivated by a genuine desire to learn and to know, rather than to engage in intellectual jousting, they will yield added clarity. In English, stop asking stupid questions. Meaning, there is really no such thing as a stupid question. All questions have some type of wisdom in them. But by stupid, we mean questions that have nothing to do with anything other than just you trying to make yourself look smart. Ask questions that are going to be relevant to your life, that are going to motivate you to change, that if you get the answer, that answer will influence your life to do something about it. Not just some general question that many people like to ask that really leads to no end. Like people send at least 3 to 4 times a week the common question, when is Mashiach coming? This is the most nonsensical question it probably is. Why? Because even if I knew, you're asking me like as if I have his phone number. Even if I knew when the Mashiach is coming, how is the answer going to help you? How is the answer going to help you? Let's say he's coming on Tuesday, next week, to the Breslov Center with me. Instead of me giving you a shiur, Mashiach is going to give you a shiur. Then what? What are you going to do about it? If you haven't started doing tshuva, what do you think? The next week is going to help you? If you're waiting to know when he's coming to do tshuva, that's not going to help you. So, again, people ask a lot of questions about things that have nothing to do with their day-to-day life. Ask questions that have to do with your day-to-day life. Also, ask questions that you don't know the answer to. Don't ask questions like we said before. People that like to show off their knowledge, they ask questions they already know the answer to. Don't waste everybody's time. If you want to show off your knowledge, write a book. Write a book. Most people that show off their knowledge, by the way, usually don't know very much more than a page. Usually they don't know much more. If you write all your thoughts down, you probably can't fill a real page. I'm talking about a real page, not a page like they fill books today. They fill 400 pages of complete nonsense. I'm talking about a real daf, a real page, where every sentence you thought about every single word. You know, the old days that the Chachamim would say that every word of the Torah that you learn is a mitzvah. Every letter is a mitzvah. Every word is a mitzvah. Whether you're learning the Rambam, you're learning the Gemara, you're learning the Tanakh, Divrei Chachamim, every word is a mitzvah. So it's not relevant anymore in today's world. Why? In those days of the Rambam, in the days of Rashi, in the days of the Chachamim, every time they put a word down, they thought about the word 500 times to see, is this the right word? Do I position the word this way, this, that? They would think about every single word. Today, people do the opposite. People want to fill up pages. Because no one's going to buy a 12-page notebook or pamphlet for $15, $20. So what are they got to do? They got to write this 12 pages worth of information that's not even a chidush over 300 pages, 400 pages. Because that people are going to pay $30 for. So that's why there's some that say that if you read some of these more modern books, not every word is considered a mitzvah. Maybe if you read the whole book, it's a mitzvah. Maybe there's certain things in it that are considered a mitzvah, but not every page, not every word. Why? Because they don't think about their writing the same way that the sages, the real chachamim, think about their writing. Many people are thinking about marketing and thinking about business. The point being is that a person that asks a question, and if he wants to get an answer because that answer is going to change something in his life, good. But if the question has nothing to do with his life, it's not going to change anything, why are you wasting time? People always complain about suffering they have in their life. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot says that if a person has suffering in his life and he doesn't know, he should fashfesh b'ma'asav, he should review his actions. If he doesn't see any of his actions have led to this suffering, then he should know for sure it's because of bitul Torah. It's because he wasted Torah time. Sometimes asking a question is waste of time. Why? Because you're not asking a question that's going to help you in life. You're asking a question just to see if the other guy knows it. So, one of the things that a person is required to do, Tiferet Yisrael is telling us here, is that his questions should be pertinent, should be serious questions, and not something that's inconsequential. Also, shoed ke'inyan u'meshiv ka'alacha, that a person needs to ask pertinent questions and answer to the point. That if he's asking a question, he should ask a direct question. Sometimes people don't know how to ask questions, but in reality, they don't really have much of a question. They just want to tell you their story. This happens often when you have big lectures and you have a questions and answer session, and new people, and you say, oh, question, anybody have any questions? And then somebody raises their hand and they have a question, and they start going into a 15-minute story. Start going into a 15-minute story about how they got to where they are today, and they went to this, and they went to that, and they went to this, and went to that. Now, it's a question and answer session. It's not a storytelling. We're not seeing kumbaya around a bonfire. It's a question. There's other people there. No, but they feel the need to tell their story. Nice 5, 10, 15-minute story. Now, if you're going to let every single speaker, every single questioner do that, then you might as well throw the questions and answer session into the garbage. Why? No one's gonna ask any questions. Everybody's gonna tell their story. So you have to sometimes be a little bit pushy and tell them, okay, but what's the question? Why? Because you can't just let this person hog the whole time and be selfish to tell everybody their story. No one came for their story. People came for answers. Now, if it's a type of environment and session where everybody wants to share stories, it's a different story. But the point being is that a person needs to know how to ask questions and also know how to answer them. Sometimes you ask people questions and you see that they go and they really don't answer the question. This happens very, very often with missionaries. Anytime you ask any of these missionaries a question, okay, can you prove such and such? Can you do such and such? They're going to go to completely unrelated verses, unrelated teachings, unrelated everything to the question. Every single time. At some point, they'll mention something that you said and make you feel like you actually got an answer, but in reality, all they do is confuse you. Because you have no idea, how did he get to Daniel? I asked him about Moshe. I asked him about Mount Sinai. Prophet Isaiah wasn't at Mount Sinai. Why is he mentioning the prophet Isaiah? Like, what does it have to do with it? Even prophet, chapter 53, what the whole world has to do, the whole Tanakh is just chapter 53 of Isaiah. Everything has to do with chapter 53. Like, everything always has the same. Why? Because it's all smoke screens. It's all smoke screens to confuse you. And a person that has this Keter Torah must learn how to provide answers that are substantial, that are comforting and give people what they need, but at the same token, limit their words of words that are not relevant to it. Limit their words. Don't just start going off on a tangent of different things. Now, Shomea u'mosif. Shomea u'mosif is listening and contributing. Literally, this means adding to the discussion. This is the next character trait. This is the next prerogative that a person needs to have. So, this is both for the student and the teacher. When the student is learning with the teacher for a while, he should already start thinking, okay, teacher is saying such and such, the rabbi is saying such and such. Oh, he starts thinking about what does this have to do with other stuff we learned together. Oh yeah, this connects to this other shiur that he did last week, last month, last year. Or it has to do with this book that I read somewhere else. He starts connecting the dots. His brain is working. Her brain is working. They're trying to connect the dots with different things to apply it. Shomea u'mosif, meaning he hears and he contributes to the discussion. Meaning, oh, you saying this? Okay, let's build something with this. You're saying this nice chidush. Let me build something with it. This also has to do with with the actual teacher himself. Sometimes your student is going to give you a nice Dvar Torah, and in reality, it's wrong. It's nice. It sounds good, but it's wrong. Now, if you tell them right off the bat, no, it's wrong, terrible, horrible. Why'd you even say something? I think you committed a sin, bal tashchit, you wasted your words. No, if you tell him that the poor guy is never going to come to the shiur again, he may become a heretic tomorrow. You can't do stuff like that. So what does a good teacher do? The guy is wrong, direct him to right. Oh, you mean that, and this, and that. Oh, wow, chazak. And you give him the chizuk that it's all his idea, even though it was completely wrong what he said. What he said, it was wrong. But correct him in a way to make him see and feel like it's his chidush, it's his good, it's his insight, but now it's right. Give him the right answer, but have him see that he contributed to the right answer. Shomea u'mosif. He hears it, but he adds more good to it. That's what the teacher is supposed to do. Alomed al minat lilamed. Last one we're going to do for tonight is alomed al minat lilamed. Learning in order to teach. We've talked about this many times, of how a person is supposed to learn, but not only learn in order to teach. Why? Because when a person learns in order to teach, it helps a person achieve success at learning in a couple of ways. One is practical, and the other one is metaphysical. Where the Chachamim explained, practical is when you're teaching, you end up going over it yourself, more than once. You went over the same information more than once. That already sharpens your own knives, sharpens your own skills. Why? Because the first time you went over it, when you read it, you got a superficial knowledge of it. Now you went over it with your student, that's already a couple of more times. Why? Because, number one, you thought about it. Number two, you said it. So now you went over the same information another couple of times, so now it sharpens it a little bit more. The next time you say it again to somebody else, it's going to be even sharper. You're going to get to cut out a lot of the nonsense, cut out a lot of the extras, and just go directly to the bottom line. So your teaching gets sharper and sharper over time. I can tell you for myself, Baruch Hashem, if you compare, for example, shiurim of today versus you compare shiurim from, let's say, 4 years ago that were recorded, In some cases, there's a 90-day difference. 90-day difference. Why? Because as you say certain things, as you learn more, as you add more information, as you sharpen your own skills, Baruch Hashem, it helps drastically. So that's one of the very clear benefits to teachers. The second benefit is a metaphysical, meaning that the desire to teach, the Midrash Shmuel says, the desire to teach Torah is actually a form of chesed. What kind of chesed? It's similar to praying for other people. Teaching other people is similar to praying for them. It's chesed of praying for them. Kindness like you prayed for them. Because when you teach other people, you're providing them information that could change their life, that could get them to become Avdei Hashem, that get them to become Baalei Teshuva. And this is the equivalent of praying for them. Why is this your benefit? Because the Midrash Shmuel says that our sages promised us that anyone that prays for a chavero, for his fellow, his own prayers get answered first. You have financial problems, you have marriage problems, you have this problem, you have that problem. Pray for your friend who also has that problem. He has financial problems, he has marriage problems, he has this problem and that problem. Pray for him. Pray for him. Why? If you pray for him, as we learned last week, if you remember, you pray for him, in shamayim they say, wow, look at this tzaddik. He's praying for his friend. Such a person, he doesn't deserve the tikkun that he has. Doesn't deserve the tikkun he has. Why? This person is praying for his friend. If he's praying for his friend, he is righteous enough to have his own prayers answered first. So teaching other people gives you an actual benefit that way. But the Gemara also talks about it in a different way. And we'll finish with these couple of points. The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says, Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, Kol ha'osek b'Torah bilvad dome kemi she'en lo Eloah. Says anyone who engages in Torah study only is like someone who has no God. Hashem Yirachem. How could such a thing be said by Rav Huna, one of the greatest KIRUV sages in the history of mankind? Rav Huna says that if somebody just learns Torah, it's like he doesn't have a God. When Rav Huna died, the Gemara in Masechet Moed Katan says, they said, where can we bury him? Where can we bury him? We can't bury him next to just anybody. Why? He was a KIRUV rabbi. He did KIRUV, he could Zeguer Rabim. You can't just bury him next to anybody. Even though somebody else learned Torah, was a Tana, Kadosh, everything, doesn't mean anything. Why? Once you do KIRUV, you're in a different status. So where can we bury him? And say, oh, you can bury him next to Rabbi Chia. Why? Because Rabbi Chia also did KIRUV. Rabbi Chia also did KIRUV. The Gemara says that when they brought the body to the cave of Rabbi Chia and Banav, the neshamot of the sons of Rabbi Chia came out of the grave. They said, move to each other, move, move. Make room for Rav Huna. Lo kavod for Rav Huna to need to have a different place. Move out of the way. Biggest KIRUV rabbi in the world is coming here. So now Rav Huna says to us, if you just learn Torah by itself, without an intention of teaching it, it's like somebody who doesn't have a God. Why? Because when you learn Torah, the minimum you should be learning is the midot of Hashem, the character traits of Hashem. And we see that Hashem only gives and never receives. So when a person is taking the Torah, taking the learning, taking the good, taking, and doesn't share this information, that means they've learned nothing from God. Yeah, you learned the information that it says, but it didn't change you. You learned Torah, but the Torah you learned, lo shamayim. It's not a Torah from shamayim. You learn the book, because the Torah from shamayim is supposed to change you. Supposed to change you. Now, a person that actually takes the initiative and teaches the Torah to his family, his colleagues, his friends, his community, does something with this Torah, not just keeps it to himself all the time. You don't always have to be a public speaker. You can just talk to your friend, talk to your son, talk to your daughter. Do something with it. Don't keep it to yourself. Have a chavruta. A person like that should know the more he teaches, the more reward he gets in this world too. We also see this in the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 35. It says that the Torah is like a flask of balsam oil. So it's like a little bit of a jar of oil that has good smell, good fragrance. That's the Torah. Why? And that's the person that learns Torah. Why? Why is a Torah scholar comparable to that? Because if it's open, then the fragrance spreads. If it's covered, then the fragrance does not spread. If the Torah scholar spreads his knowledge everywhere, then even the things that used to be hidden from him, the things he didn't understand, he learned it last year, he learned it 2 years ago, he never learned it. The things that are hidden from him will they'll be shown to him. The hidden will be uncovered to him. Why? As a reward for him disclosing his own Torah knowledge. On the other hand, if he doesn't disclose his Torah knowledge, if he keeps it closed, and he doesn't spread the Torah knowledge, doesn't spread the fragrance, then he's not going to be a matzliach b'Torah. He won't succeed in the Torah. Why? That's what we said. He's like a person who doesn't have a God. So a person that wants extra siyata dishmaya in their life will spread their Torah as much as possible. Now, one of the added extraordinary benefits that this same Gemara says, that a person that spreads their Torah, alamot e'avucha. What is alamot e'avucha? It says alamot. Alamot love you. Who's this alamot? Who is this alamot? It says don't say alamot, ela al mavet. The person should know, if he spreads his Torah, even the Satan loves him. Yetzirah loves him. Yetzirah loves him. Yetzirah loves him. Why? Because the angel of death loves him. Because now, Yetzirah wants the person to succeed in Torah. At the same token, the Yetzirah needs to give certain things. He takes from certain people. He takes life from certain people. He has to give that life to somebody else. He has to give that life to somebody else. Why? Because somebody's a rasha. Somebody's a rasha. Hashem allows the Yetzirah to take his life early. But there's extra years here. There's extra 20 years he's supposed to live. Extra 30 years. Extra 50 years. Yetzirah needs a customer. Who is he going to give it to? Another rasha. Can't do it. So, tzaddik. 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 Here's an extra 10 years to your life. Here's an extra 20. Here's an extra 30. Why? I took it from the rasha. I have to give it to somebody. You're a tzaddik. You spread your Torah. I love you. Here's your present. Meaning that the more Torah the person learns, the more a person succeeds in this world. But one of the things that the Khatam Sofer says is it's extraordinary, is that a person that spreads his Torah inherits both worlds, this world and the next. This is an unusual thing. Why? Because usually Chachamim don't have much wealth in this world. They have a lot of difficulties in this world. And part of the reason why Hashem gives righteous people a lot of difficulty is because He doesn't want them to become corrupted by the good of this world, the Yetzirah of this world. So the Khatam Sofer says, but if somebody does KIRUV, somebody gets Am Yisrael to come do Teshuva, Hashem gives them the comforts of this world too. Why? The Khatam Sofer says something mamash amazing. Anyone who gives merit to others, meaning does KIRUV, does Ikuei Rabim, is protected and will not lose his spiritual level to the comforts of this world. Why? Because the Mishnah in Avot says, Kol HaMezakeh et HaRabim En chet ba'al yado. You go help other people do tshuva. Hashem doesn't send you the regular sins of this world. You have big ones, special ones. So if you make a sin, Hashem yachem. But the stuff of everyday life, you have protection from it. So the Khatam Sofer says, you're not going to lose yourself, you're not going to lose your head. So Hashem says, okay, you can get benefits in this world too. House, a car, this, and that, you get benefits. Why? Because it's not going to corrupt you. Not going to corrupt you, unless you let it. So you see, it says, you get mamash ashgacha pratit. You get a lot of extra ashgacha pratit. Now, to finish off the night, I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me the other day. Special ashgacha pratit. Just give you an example. People always ask me about stories, real life stories. So I'll tell you, if you pay attention to the details, you can see your own ashgacha pratit every single day, every single minute. This is an obvious one that happened to me on Sunday. Now, after our shiur that we did together on Sunday, I left the place, said goodbye to all of you, and I left. And I knew I had to go fill up gas. I had to fill up gas for my car. So I went to the gas station around the corner from the Sharet Zion. And I went to the store and paid the guy. And it was, I gave him not paid the guy, I gave him my card. And it didn't work. It didn't work. I told him, no, it's working, there's money on it. It works. He goes, oh, you have to put a pin. I said, I don't have a pin. Just, it works. No, you have to put a pin. I said, well, I'm going to make a pin. So I made a pin. It didn't work. It's embarrassing. 5 times I'm putting the card. It's embarrassing. It doesn't work. Baruch Hashem, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. There's not many other people enjoying the show. But I give him the card 5 times. It doesn't work. So I said, okay, I give him another card that I don't really like to use. But I said, okay, fine. Here's this other card. I don't get upset. It's a little unusual that the card didn't work. And I paid the guy $44. $44. I think it was $43.95, something like that. $44. So now after I left the store, I said, Ribono Shel Olam, what can I learn from this? Like, this is obviously from Hashem. 5 times, I know the card has money on it. So it's not like there's not money missing. So this is obviously from Hashem. Testing, maybe I should get, I was supposed to get angry. Baruch Hashem, I didn't get angry. I said, Shtabach Shemo. But at the same token, now I paid for gas that I'm using for shiur Torah out of my own personal money. So it's not, it's enough already that you come shiur for free. It's enough you come for free. Now I have to pay for it too out of my own, the little bit of money that I have. I have to pay also for the gas too. The next time I'm going to start paying you guys too, maybe. So I said to myself, Ribono Shel Olam, Yishtabach Shemo. Now, maybe in shamayim, I said this to myself, the account that I had in my head. I said, you know what, maybe this shiur needs to get to certain people. And if I have any benefit out of it, it's not going to get to somebody. It's not going to get to somebody. Why? Because I got a little bit of benefit. Because I got gas money. I don't know. So maybe I have to invest into this shiur, $44. Who knows? I just started giving kaf zchut to try to figure out how Yishtabach Shemo La'ad is making me pay out of my own pocket $44 for this gas. So this was my accounting. Baruch Hashem, I was happy with it. And I went to the car, I filled up the gas, and I went home. Shortly later, I arrive home, and I get a email notification. This Talmid that I have from Texas, he sometimes sends me money personally. He doesn't send it to the organization. He sends me like a few dollars personally, because he knows that I don't take a salary from the organization. And he sends me through Facebook, but personally, how much? $44. Mi ekdimani v'ashalim is what Hashem says. Mi ekdimani v'ashalim. Who did me a favor first and I'll pay for it? Cash. Why, you paid for it out of your personal account, son? Don't worry, I got you. Don't worry, I got you. Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. Who sends $44? Why couldn't he say 42, 45, 41.20? Like, why did you pick 44 out of all numbers in the world? Why? Because it's not David, it's Hashem. It's Hashem. It's only a test. It's like in shamayim,
You know how they go to a thing, they use the microphone, testing, testing, testing. That's what Hashem's doing. He's smashing your head a couple times. On your head, testing, testing. You're the microphone. Testing, do you listen? Can you hear? Testing, 1, 2, 3. If you pass the test, he sends you the $44. I was so happy. I made a 3-minute recording to Rabbi Chaim, laughing my butt off. How amazing this is. Now, this may not seem like a big deal to some people. Like, it's only $44. If it was $44,000, then you can talk. No, my friend. No, my friend. If you don't see the value of the Hashgacha Pratit in $44, guess what? Even if you got the 44 million, you're never going to see it. Hashgacha Pratit is on the small stuff, not just big stuff. It's on the small, minor things. The fact that you can find your toothbrush is Hashgacha Pratit. This, Rabotai, is amazing if you simply allow your neshama to pay attention to the details. Be'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow we have another shiur. We're going to learn a little bit more about this Mishnah. We have tomorrow we're going to go over Alomed al minat la'asot, a mechkim et rabo, someone that learns in order to practice it, someone that makes his teacher wiser. We are actually in the last stages of this Mishnah. We only have a little bit more than a handful. 1, 2, 3, 4. About 5. About a handful more things to go over this Mishnah. So maybe Be'ezrat Hashem, we may even finish it tomorrow, Be'ezrat Hashem, or next week, Be'ezrat Hashem. But either way, this is about six different things left, Be'ezrat Hashem. So any questions, any burning questions, or we're going to continue tomorrow. בסדר, תזכו למצוות רבות. Thank you for learning with me. ברוך ה' le'olam. Amen ve'amen.